I think we're finally good. It only took us 30
Woohoo!
minutes, but we got here. But hey, every day's an adventure, and goodness knows, at least we got it to work, even if it was a couple hurdles, not exactly where we want it to be for frame rate, but as long as you can hear her, that's ultimately what matters. So I apologize that things didn't work, Eros. I've been using video for more than half of this year. Like,
it's
since
okay.
episode 12 or something, I think. And it's been really reliable. I've never had these types of problems with it. So I'm going to have to figure out what went wrong and figure out if that's something that is now like a bug in the software or if it was something with your particular setup. But
I feel like it was all me, because I would go on there. Well, it was working before we started stream, right? Well, while we were on the Just Waiting, so that was weird. But every time I would go in there, it would freeze, and then everything else for me would freeze as well. Like all my Chrome windows.
Geez.
I don't.
Huh.
Yeah, that's why I restarted my PC real quick because I was like, maybe this will fix it. But then it happened again, so. I'm sure my computer was catching fire or something.
Possibly. Well, anyways, on the off chance that anyone who is tuning in right now isn't familiar with you already, I know many of the people came here from your stream, and once again, thank you for raiding in, and thank you, raiders, for sticking around with this little misadventure, but if you could introduce yourself.
I'm Eros, Fox Girl, VTuber, very good gamer.
Yes, very good gamer. And thank you, Asgard1913, for the follow. Let me double check if I missed anyone. Strawberry King 121, 15 was taken. Ridge Story, rest were taken. Bunmei IRA. Also, we're going to talk about your... also, why did I say Bunmei IRA? It's Bunmei RA. We're going to be talking about your logo in a bit, actually. Anti-Gravity Slime Pig, and I think I mentioned Vicmar05, but thank you again, Vicmar05. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Formalities, business out of the way. Stream's working. I'm so excited. Yes.
Me too. Very excited.
Oh, goodness. But where to begin? Like I mentioned, I found you initially through Yokomeshi. That I had interviewed Yozo and a couple of other members of the group, and I was like, okay, everyone I've encountered from here so far seems awesome, so I might as well check out the rest, and just sort of went down the line, tuned in for streams, and I was like, yep, checks out. Everyone here's great. And you're someone I've been looking forward to talking with for a while. It's the type of thing that I sort of wanted to space out things because I didn't want it to look like the Yokomeshi show where it's just, back to back to back. So I've been trying to space them out just a little bit, give that type of breathing room. And I'm so glad to have you on now. And you've been really active lately as well. So it feels like a good time all around. And you were just playing Cuphead, and it definitely wasn't your first time playing Cuphead, but if memory serves, it's your first time playing Cuphead in a while.
Yeah, it's been probably over a year. I think I played it last November while dying or drinking for every death or something like that.
Oh, that's a terrible
and playing
idea.
it. I beat it though. It works.
Yeah, one of my past guests, Jusagi, the business VTuber, is a huge Cuphead fan. Definitely, if you ever want to talk Cuphead, he's going to be one for you to check out. But in general, it seems that you have a taste for, I don't want to call them frustration games, but very challenging games. When you say you are gamer, you're not kidding. That's not a meme. You are gamer. That your bread and butter is Souls games. Plain and simple. That is what you do most of the time. That is, I would say 80% of the time when I tune into your streams, that's what you're doing. That it is Souls, Sekiro, that type of Soulsborne genre. And
I love pain games so much. They are like you said, my bread and butter. Honestly, they are my favorite. I'm always hunting for another Dark Souls 3 high, pretty much. And I've played so many recommendations on my channel that people are like, "Oh, this is just like Dark Souls 3," and it's never like it, but it's still fun.
Do you recall what your first game in that genre was? That did you begin all the way back with Dark Souls 1, or was there something else along the way that really got you into that genre?
So I actually started with Dark Souls 3. I don't remember like why. I'm pretty sure somebody just recommended it to me and I knew that it was like a hard game. So I was like, that sounds fun, sure. And I played it and people, helped me and I made such a good community out of it. I just loved it and I was like, okay, maybe I should keep going with the Dark Souls train and maybe I should play backwards, like do start with 3, then maybe 2, then 1. But thankfully, I was talked out of playing 2 next. I played Bloodborne instead, which is probably one of my like right up there next to Dark Souls 3.
Mm. Now, I remember I played a bit of Dark Souls 1 at a friend's house way back when it first came out, and quickly realized that I was not good at it. So I never really got into that genre, but I really enjoy watching people play it. That's one of the great things about streaming, that it has allowed me to enjoy many games that I myself just wouldn't play. And it's sometimes fun watching people just dying and getting frustrated, but frankly, I find it more fun when people are good at it, and you're good at it, that you die plenty, but everyone dies plenty in those games. That's what they're meant to do. But you definitely have a knack for them. Would you say that you have any favorite style of play? Do you like it when it's, tanky and go with big hits, or do you like more light moving characters that are faster but a bit less strength, or do you just really go with whatever you feel like that day?
I know I'm gonna get yelled at for this, but I always do, specifically in like Dark Souls 3, I always do dex builds, which makes people kind of mad because they're like, no, use a big sword. But it's easier.
Now that is the one thing that, since I haven't played them myself and I just watch those types of streams, that I don't know that. So if I were more educated on Souls games, I might have known the answer to that question already. But I'm basically just tuning in usually for those saying, streamer do action good, yay.
Yeah. I just like to hit fast and go fast. I don't like to... There's like fat rolling when you're wearing too much armor, like heavy armor, you'll roll really slowly. But you can take more damage and you can hit with like bigger swords or clubs or something. I just hate playing like that. I think it sucks.
Yeah, one thing I am very much into is Dungeons and Dragons and, just tabletop role playing, and I definitely prefer dex builds in that type of thing. I know the stat builds aren't one-to-one here, but it's same basic concept that I very much enjoy, being able to be mobile as a character. I feel like I have more control over my situation than if I'm gonna be slow, because if you're slow and you're in the way, you are no longer in control of the situation. But if you at least know that you have the ability to move, you may fail to move or move poorly, but I feel as a player that gives me more agency, so that's usually where I tend towards.
Yeah, I agree. I don't play D&D much, but that I typically go with like rogue characters and just people who are fast,
Yeah. Of all the different Souls or Bloodborne games in that genre that you've played. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. I talk good. I am a talk show host.
You're fine. You're fine.
Would you say that you have any favorites? It sounds like 3 is still just the top for you.
3 is so good. That's my favorite game. I have beaten that game like over 10 times on my channel now. Just like half doing the same thing, half just playing like random mods from it. It is so amazing. It is top tier.
Yeah, speaking of mods, you were playing a Pokemon mod of it just last week, and I'd never actually seen that mod before. Can you explain how exactly that works for people who might not have been tuning in?
It's an awful mod.
It definitely seemed like it was a little bit glitchy, to say the least, but it worked at least for its base concept.
Yeah, and people were like, "Oh, it's just one guy working on it," but I was so frustrated because it's like it was you have to use Pokeball equivalent in the game to capture enemies, but the capture rate is so low. And it's just so frustrating, especially when you go against a boss. There's one I was struggling with like late-ish game that would just like one-shot all my Pokemon because the bosses still act the same. So if they have a huge zoning attack, your little Pokemon monsters, whatever, don't know to like run away or to dodge that. So you have to like stop what you're doing, quickly recall them, and then dodge out of the way for that. And it's painful. It is very painful.
Sorry, I saw you going into the red a little bit for the audio, so I turned you down just a bit. Chat, let me know if I've turned her down too much. Yes. Yeah, so that stream had a lot of chaos, even more so than usual for sure, because it was you trying to catch, and you could definitely tell that the catch rates were low, but it was also really cool just having these, big lumbering things around you. Although the AI is still a bit sketchy, I think one of them just walked off of a bridge.
Yeah, yeah. The AI will just like straight up just die, like just walk off the edge for no reason.
It was never even meant to do that, so I'm just impressed that modders are able to do these types of things that I do not know how to code. I can read code. I took a couple of basic computer science classes, so if you give me a block of code, I can probably take a good guess at what it's supposed to do. I couldn't write anything, and the fact that people are able to actually develop these mods and get them running at all, just baffles me. So, hats off to whoever the heck did this. And you mentioned it's just a one-person project.
Yeah, it is. I still like to, hassle them a little bit.
Oh, so you've actually been in contact with the developer?
Nah. I don't say it publicly to their face. Just, I'm
gotcha.
like a chihuahua, so I'm streaming. I'm like, man, I hate this guy. Whoever made this sucks, even though it is very impressive to do any mods.
Yeah. Any favorite stories from playing Souls games, whether it be from crazy mods like the Pokemon one, or just, the first time you ever actually beat Souls 3? Are there any memories that really stick out to you?
I think my most notable memory with the Dark Souls games is I did a marathon stream where I, in one sitting, beat Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and it took about 40 hours.
Oh my goodness.
It was amazing. It was probably, I was so proud at the end of that stream. I was so happy.
Must have been half delirious too at that point. Did you take breaks in this? Or did you have any of those, I'm just sleeping breaks where you put your model on and let things run for a couple hours so you could rest? Or did you just go for 40 hours?
So I didn't want to stop, but everybody kept being like, you need to go eat, because it was probably over like the 24-hour mark and I hadn't eaten. So I did at one point go get heat up a slice of pizza and turn on a video for 10 minutes, and watched with chat. And then about 30 hours in, I went and took a 5-hour nap, and then I was right back at it.
That's something at least.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'd really like to redo it in the future one day while completing the DLCs as well. I think that would be like my next hurdle.
Yeah, so do you think that you would be able to do that then with how much you've improved since last time? Do you think it would still end up being about the same 40 hours, or do you think it would be longer?
It's hard because I don't play Dark Souls 1 and 2 very much.
So you could get snagged on those.
Yeah, 2 for sure. 2 has way too much content, and the DLCs are insane in it. I haven't done the marathon yet because I'm kind of skirting around, like, should I do 2's DLCs because they suck. They're so bad. And people say they're like, oh, the DLCs of Dark Souls 2 is only the good part. No, it's not. It sucks also. So I've been struggling with that. I think it would take about 40 hours if I did the DLCs minus 2's as well.
Oh wow. Still, hey, you've done it once, so you at least know that you are capable of that type of stream. So whenever you decide to do it, you can at least, enter in with that level of confidence, I suppose, because I have to imagine doing a stream of that duration for the first time, because I have never done a stream longer than 5 hours myself. That's the longest one of my shows has gone. And it has to be sort of a question of, can I do this? So what was that like? Just, you don't need to chronicle the entire thing, but were there moments do you recall certain hour marks you're like, oh gosh, I'm fading and I need to do something to pick myself back up? Or did you find it surprisingly easy in that you were just going?
I thought it was really really easy, honestly. I do like very impromptu, like I'll stream for 12 hours on accident. So it wasn't really hard. Except for when I started Dark Souls 3, so I hadn't slept at all yet, and it was about like 30 hours in, and I was getting delirious, and everybody was like, "You need just go take a nap. Just go take a nap, Eros." I was like, "All right, you know what? Fine. I'll take a small nap." That was the only bit, and I think the very last boss of Dark Souls 3. I my chat loves this story. But I'm about 40 hours into the marathon. I've only slept 5 hours, and there's somebody in my chat who I was getting hit by Soul of Cinders, and I like said, "Oh, don't hit me with your stick" or something, and this guy was like, "Oh, that's a javelin." And I like read it but didn't respond because it
Oh
didn't
yeah,
really.
chat is going on right now about
Yeah.
the javelin.
they bring this up so much, but I didn't respond to it, and then he added me and like reiterated himself,
Oh
and I was
my
like, "Oh,
gosh.
okay, that's cool. I'm still gonna call it a stick. It's not a big deal, you know." And then he said, "You have bad vibes." And
Oh,
I was like,
that's
"Sir,
adorable.
I have been up for 40 hours. Shut up." And then I banned him.
Good call. Good
And
call.
the kicker is that it wasn't even a javelin. I looked it up.
Ugh.
It's not a javelin. And that was the highlight of that stream. It was so funny to me. I was losing it.
That's incredible. Oh gosh, just it is very satisfying when a troll fails so spectacularly that they become a meme, and their mission to create bad vibes or accuse others of having bad vibes apparently just creates more good vibes.
Right?
Oh gosh. Apart from Pokemon, are there any other mods that really stand out to you?
Man, I like most of my chat knows because I talk about it all the time, but if you're ever into Dark Souls 3, the Cinders mod is like a must. It is so amazing. It is amazing. I've done multiple runs of it on my channel.
So what
Cinders
is the Cinders
is so
mod?
good. It adds in like new bosses. It adds in every single item from Dark Souls 1, 2, and Sekiro, and Bloodborne. So you get a gun, and the gun is really
Oh.
strong.
Oh dear. Literally bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah, it makes the game so easy. It's so much fun. And you can like marry NPCs. Like I have a strong love of Solaire, and you can marry him, and that's
What
by
about
far the
Solaire is
best
so
part.
appealing to you?
I love his storyline. He's just very optimistic. He's kind of like a himbo, right?
I feel like to survive in a Souls game, you have to be a himbo to some degree.
100%. They're always like the game favorites too. Like the Onion Bro in 3, everybody loves him.
So the fact that the Pokemon mod is one of your favorites isn't too surprising because you're also very much into Pokemon. That I think the last time you were playing a non-Souls game that wasn't Cuphead, so not counting tonight, you were playing, I forget if it was Diamond or Pearl, which remake, but you were playing the recent Diamond and Pearl remakes.
Yeah, I was playing Diamond. It was probably like one of my first Pokemon games as a kid that I can like clearly like remember, and I just wanted to play it because it's such a like fond childhood memory. And I mean, it just came out, so everybody's playing
it's
it.
a bit of the meta, but nobody's going to complain when Pokemon is the meta because I certainly know. I would say that I've discussed Pokemon at least for a few minutes with probably half of my guests. And, it's not surprising. Pokemon is one of the biggest franchises out there. It's very popular, and especially for people in our age range who really grew up with the franchise, that it makes sense that a lot of us remember it fondly, and we're very excited for those remakes. Who was your starter?
I chose Piplup, much to my chat's dismay. They were so angry about it. They wanted me to choose Turtwig, and I hate Turtwig.
Turtwig is good. I feel like all the starters in Gen 4 are good, but Piplup was mine as well. And first off, Piplup's just freaking adorable, but also I
Right?
feel like Steel Water with Empoleon is just a really cool type combination. I love Steel type in general. So that really made the decision easy for me. But you are among friends here for Piplup fans.
Yeah, and then through the whole run, I had a redeem where people could raffle to choose the name of the Pokemon I caught, which is why chat is spamming Bingus right now,
God.
because we caught a bit of, they named Bingus, I think
Yep.
Bingus the second.
I remember that because I didn't see it as a Bidoof, but as a Bibarel. And I definitely remember Bingus, and chat loved Bingus because just Bidoof has become an entire meme. I'm not sure if you saw it, but on April Fool's Day this year, I kid you not, the official Pokemon social channels all changed their icons to Bidoof, and they released a Never Gonna Give You Up parody of Bidoof with like full-on rendered video. Seriously, I shit you not. By the way, I don't think I ever mentioned this to you, but the profanity rating for my show slides entirely to my guest's preference. I have had Brie at Cookie Box and Poppy on before, who are very, very big with profanity. I've had Yami and members of Fuatopia who are super family friendly, and that's fine too. But do not feel like you need to hold yourself back while you're on my show.
Got it. I wasn't sure, so I was holding back some swears.
It occurred to me. I was like, wait, did I mention this to Eros? Because I usually do that in the pre-show when we're not scrambling for tech.
Yeah.
So, anyways, no need to worry about that there. But I highly recommend looking up. I can't even remember the name of the video, but if you just go on YouTube and search Pokemon Bidoof Never Gonna Give You Up, you'll find it, I'm sure. And yeah, I love that Bidoof has just become a meme because it is just this adorable, derpy little thing. It's not very strong, but everyone loves it.
Yeah, well, I hated it. Like, I was like, I'm not using this stupid Pokemon, it's ugly. And then it was kind of like an enemies to lovers arc, right? Now Bidoof is like my favorite Pokemon. They wouldn't let me take Bingus out of my party either. So like I went through the entire game and he grew on me.
That's one of the other really fun things of just the past year or so as VTubers have become really big, that VTubers, I feel, have been very creative when it comes to Pokemon, of getting chat involved and having different things that obviously Nuzlocks are a thing, but even if you're not doing a Nuzlocke, that getting chat to vote on the nicknames or having them pick certain stipulations or types or challenges and whatnot, that I feel like it's added this whole new layer to Pokemon, and obviously many, many other games as well, but Pokemon being turn-based inherently means that people are able to take time to get that input from chat without having to, scramble like you would in Dark Souls or something. Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And interaction with my chat is like one of my biggest things. Like I always want to interact as much as I can with them.
Yeah, and you're definitely very, very good at it. You, as many others have installed Tits, the Twitch integrated throwing system recently.
Yes.
Some of your custom items include a Mr. Mime, just an entire Mr. Mime. Is there a reason that Mr. Mime, of all Pokemon, was put into the Twitch integrated throwing system and not Bidoof or somebody else?
Well, okay. So it all started with my chat naming our Mr. Mime. Wasn't it like Dad?
Thank you, Tech Leo. Or Tech Leon.
Yeah.
No,
I wasn't sure if it was Dad or Daddy. So, and then Yozora came to my chat while I was like beating the Elite Four, and she just thought it was so funny. So I eventually downloaded a Mr. Mime PNG like during that stream and just like kept him near me and with me. And so when I saw that you could upload just random images to Tits, I was like, oh, Mr. Mime, and just threw him in there. And he's like massive for no reason.
You have the banana and a couple other smaller ones, and then there's the bike, which is a bigger one. But then there's Mr. Mime, which is just full-size Mr. Mime. It is the size of your model. And it just, hits you in the face. By the way, thank you, Darkness Lemon Wolf only here to backseat, and Vixion Critter Tamer for the follows. One of the other unique items that you have installed with Tits, and I saw this stream, so I understand this reference, but I want you to tell the story anyways, is Thick Water.
I knew it was coming! The Thick Water was something that one of my viewers, I like put it on Throne as a joke, and then someone actually got it for me, and I was like, all right, I'll drink it on stream, and so I poured myself like several shot glasses and I mixed them with different things, but it was horrible. It's awful. It is so disgusting to drink. It's truly terrible. And I like kept it down because I had a prediction going on whether I was gonna throw up or not. And you know, I finished all my shots. I was like, you know, this isn't so bad. Let me just drink it from the bottle. And so I took like 3 fast gulps and I
Choked.
threw up
It was
on
just
stream.
like it was. I could tell you were not having a good time. That it was okay until that moment, and it went downhill extremely quickly.
It did. It like, not to be gross, but it was the most unique throw up I have ever felt. It was strange.
Like,
And then the whole next day, my stomach hurt so badly.
No. Like, I myself have had the just dark curiosity of, should I try Thick Water just to understand the experience. I'm actually in the process of organizing my first anniversary stream, which is going to be in January. It's going to be a 2-day, 24-hour charity stream benefiting Child's Play. 12 hours on Saturday, 12 hours on Sunday. That's my way of splitting it up and making it so I have, a really long stream without completely driving myself into the ground, since I've never done a stream over 5 hours myself. But I'm still in the process of figuring out different rewards and things to happen at certain donation thresholds. And one of the things I've been kicking about is, do I want to add Thick Water to that list?
You should do it. Absolutely, you should do it.
Because I have the classic spicy
so
ramen
funny.
on there. That's going to happen. Spicy ramen is easy. I know I can handle that. But Thick Water just, it sounds, it's an entirely different level. But I feel like I want to, partially because I don't know of anyone else apart from you that's done that as a challenge.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's like well known about. I know about it because it's made for a...
Oh my god, Sarandis in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you. Has this the most cursed idea ever. Boil the ramen in the thick water.
That's what they kept saying during my stream, is like, oh, make spaghetti with it.
Oh my god. Tell you what, I'll figure out a way to get it worked in just for you, Sarandis. And that if people donate enough, I will make it happen. That, like I said, I have a couple things in the works. The big goal, the absurd goal, my main goal is $1,000. I'm optimistic that I can hit 1,000. The crazy absurd one is, if we hit $10,000, I will call my parents on stream and tell them about Vtuber Talk, because they don't know about it. And I feel like that'd be a fun thing, but I can only do that once, ever. So it has to be good, but somewhere between, 0 and 10,000, I'll put thick water ramen. Sure, yeah, it sounds just cursed enough to work. Yeah. Oh gosh, what have I just gotten myself into?
I need somebody to clip that so we can hold it against
Oh, I know it's going to be used against me. That I'm already sort of mentally thinking, okay, so I need to put in an Amazon order or something for thick water in the next couple of days. Make sure I have it in time. You all better show up for that. It's for charity. It's not even for me. It's for charity. So please. Thank you, Large Brian, Unlisted Ninja, Kigaboo, and Just a Chance for the follows. Sorry, Eros, I interrupted you.
Oh, you're good. I don't remember what I was saying.
You were talking about thick water, and that they were telling you to boil spaghetti with it.
Oh, I was gonna say, it was in relation to not many people doing it.
Yes,
I have the disability that like thick water is meant for, so that's kind of how I learned about it. It's for dysphagia. When your esophagus doesn't quite pull down food, you have to drink it, which is unfortunate. But
Okay.
I would love for more VTubers to try thick water. The reaction is hilarious.
Oh yeah, and goodness knows, one of the things that VTubers have to do that normal streamers don't is that if you're going to do that type of physical challenge, it has to result in something that you can really emote. And with
Mhm.
spicy ramen, sometimes people will take pictures, but you can hear the suffering. That's
Right.
that's what's important. It can't just be a ouch or a, like I'm crying because of onions, because you can't hear like what happens when someone is crying because of onions. It has to actually elicit a vocal response.
Right.
And it sounds like thick water hits that threshold.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you have any? I guess fine. While we're on the topic, free reign chat. I'm open to suggestions. If you have any ideas of things that I should consider adding to my list of self-imposed challenges or pain, whatnot, for the kids, for charity, you can put that in while we keep talking Pokemon. What is your favorite Pokemon? Doesn't need to necessarily be from Diamond and Pearl, but do you have a favorite among the, I think, 900 odd there are now? Because I've played every
I
generation, even I lose track.
Yeah, right? There's so many. My absolute favorite is Noivern,
Ooh,
the giant
okay.
like echo bat.
Yeah, it's like sort of big echo bat. It's not actually a dragon, but it looks like it could be.
Yeah, it's massive and I love bats. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my favorite is Metagross. Like I said, I like Steel type in general. I think Psychic Steel is super good in battle. Plus, Supercomputer Tank is just badass.
right? Yeah.
Do you have any favorite strategies or types of teams you like to build when it comes to Pokemon, or are you just more casual of whatever comes your way and is strongest is what you use?
I definitely am a very casual Pokemon player. It took me like 5 hours to beat Cynthia. Um
To be fair,
so
Cynthia is probably the
typically
most difficult champion in all of the games.
yeah, very true, very true. But I typically just choose like whatever looks cool.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Any favorite generations or even spin off games?
I used to play Pokemon Rangers as a kid all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, the killer of DS screens.
It was so much fun.
For anyone who hasn't played, Pokemon Ranger was a series that there was at least two. I don't recall if there was a third or not, but they were for the DS because the main gimmick was that you didn't use Pokeballs, you used your stylus, and you had to draw circles rapidly around Pokemon in order to tame them. And that they actually had some pretty good storylines in there, and that you would use Pokemon outside of battle to complete certain challenges, get rid of certain
Yeah.
obstacles. There wasn't actual Pokemon versus Pokemon battles. It was really Pokemon versus the player for the catching and just doing that many circles. If you didn't have a screen protector for your DS, you were probably going to leave marks.
Yeah. It was brutal because you have to draw like super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's not a lot of time.
Yeah, because they would be moving around the screen, and as the game progressed, they would do different attacks, and you couldn't let your line be touched by the Pokemon or their attacks. And some of these you would need to do like 50 loops, 100 loops when you're getting to the end bosses, and it's not as easy as it sounds drawing circles.
Right?
Technically, I think Explorers of the Sky was Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, which is another spin-off game, very good spin-off game, but I don't think that one was Ranger. Could be wrong though.
Yeah, it's a Pokemon dungeon, which I never really delved into when I was a kid. It was too like technical for me, so I would always just do the Pokemon quizzes over and over in the beginning to see which Pokemon I was.
Oh yeah, those were, before you had the whatever it could be Facebook or different quizzes that was the most comprehensive Pokemon quiz because you could get at that point. I think it was after Gen 4. So there would have been a dozen starters, and then there were a couple others that you could get, like Pikachu, Clefairy. I think there were a couple others in there, but
Yeah, Skitty.
yeah, Skitty, yeah. Do you recall which one you got?
I think I always wanted Skitty, but I think I would get Psyduck.
That's right, Psyduck was an option.
Which probably fits more, honestly.
Psyduck is what happens when chat happens, the headache.
Exactly.
Are you looking forward to Legends of Arceus?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, honestly. I'm a little, apprehensive just with quality and how it looks so far.
Yeah,
but
my big thing is I hope people don't expect Breath of the Wild out of it, because it's not going to be Breath of the Wild. Nothing is going to be Breath of the Wild except hopefully Breath of the Wild 2. But,
I just wish it was so badly.
Oh, yeah, definitely agree. If we could get more games of that just expansiveness and quality, that'd be great. But I certainly don't expect that, especially not for Pokemon's first foray into this type of actual gameplay. That I'm just happy that they're trying, and I'm hoping that the community is going to be understandable and sympathetic to the fact that this is their first try, because they're not going to get all the things right on their first go, and I just want this to be successful enough for them to do it again, so they can do it better, and so they can get closer to what some of these higher end games that have longer histories of development on their teams have. But we will see. I know that you mentioned you actually have a game free grant, so if you would care to do so, you do have the floor.
I've talked about this a lot on stream. I just want Game Freak to do better, I guess, and also stop with Gen 1. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm so tired of Gen 1 stuff.
I feel like they don't want to do Gen 1 either, but that their marketing data says they have to.
Right.
Because I can't imagine that they like doing it over and over and over again, but it's what's most recognizable to the general public. It's what's going to get the most casual of fans back, because at the end of the day, it is still a business, and no remakes would exist if the data didn't say they should do it. And I think it's just that their data says Gen 1 is and will always be just a step above for the general populace. Maybe not necessarily for the diehard Pokemon fans, for the gamer community, but, just for the average bloke, that is right. What they're going to recognize, and that means inherently that the audience is going to be wider.
I'm hoping that just as, people get older, right? Because, like I said, my first real Pokemon game was Diamond and Pearl, and I'm 22 now. So as people get older, hopefully more love for different generations will start showing more. Yeah. Since people grew up with different games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that my first was Gen 1. I got Yellow version for my 7th birthday, dating myself. That I'm 29, so several years older, but it is weird that 29 makes me kind of a boomer in this community, but that's an entirely different rant. Anyways, so which is your favorite generation?
Definitely 4. I love 4 so much. 4 is so much fun.
Were you satisfied with the remakes of 4 that you got?
Yeah, I love it so much. I think I was really apprehensive about the art style at first because it looks like a My Sims game, but it grew on me a lot. I think they stayed as true to the original as they could have, and it's great. I truly am happy with what we got.
Yeah, that for me, I'd kind of hoped that they would give a bit more, than maybe give some of the platinum content or maybe add in new things, but basically we got a 1-to-1 remake, and there's nothing wrong with that. I can hope for more, but I understand them sticking to it. But they did pull off basically a 1-to-1 remake, and interestingly, the art style choice fits to scale with what was on the DS, because it was that sort of top-down, big-headed sprite at the time. So in actuality, they didn't technically change the style. They kept the style, and it's just when it's brought into high definition like that, it feels strange. But like you said, I think it did grow on a lot of people after those initial trailers, and once people got past the initial shock of, oh, this is different.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm honestly hoping they bring in platinum content at some point. And I feel like they probably will with DLC since they
hopefully
explored that with Sword and Shield.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think people would pay another $20 to get Platinum's extra content, because the incrementation from Diamond and Pearl to Platinum was actually pretty significant as far as third games go.
Right, it was, yeah, because I remember my mom buying me Platinum after I played Diamond, and I replayed Platinum, and it was so much fun. I played it through its entirety, which was very rare for me when I was that young.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, so it took you a while for Cynthia, apparently. What was the snag there? Were you a bit underleveled, or was her Garchomp just running wild?
I think I was just really underleveled. And I didn't want to grind anymore because I'm very stubborn. And so I had a lot of people in chat helping me. I also just don't know like stats or how Pokemon works very well. So I had people in chat being like, okay, now use this move. Now use this Pokemon against this one, and just helping me through it.
Now, I do like that chat is giving me some extra hints of extra questions to ask, so keep it coming, chat. That seriously, I love this as the interviewer. You're making my job easier. They mentioned no ice moves, and that Earthquake was difficult for you. But before I forget it, because multiple people in chat have mentioned it now, they say that if I get you talking about Sonic, you won't stop. And that's sort of the goal of the show, to get the guest talking. It's in the name. So, Sonic, because I haven't seen you play Sonic. And when we spoke earlier this week, you did not mention Sonic. So seeing multiple people in chat mentioning Sonic now has me curious.
I've just been on a big Sonic kick recently. I never touched it as a child, aside from like the original game, which I like barely played, but here and there. I've been watching like Sonic Boom and stuff. I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like completely captured my attention. So
the fact that chat is now actually turning against themselves tells me that I've done something correct as the host by pursuing this line of questioning.
Yeah. I think I want to eventually try playing the Sonic games on stream, even though I think my chat would hate me for it.
I have never actually played the original Sonic games. My first Sonic game was Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube, and I've played a couple others. I played Sonic Heroes. I played there was one or two others that I can't even remember, but Sonic Adventure 2 still, for me, holds a very special place in my heart. I really enjoyed that game, thought it was a lot of fun. Not sure if you've played that one, but if you haven't, highly recommended. It's a meme game, but it's really good memes, and a really good game with memes around it. It's kind of a win-win in that sense.
I feel like that would be like I know that Sonic does not have very good games, but I think it'd be so fun just to play them on stream and just like laugh and stuff, you know? Yeah. I feel like that's the best kind, if you can just laugh at the game but still love it.
Yeah, but even I will not recommend that you play Sonic 06. I think that's a waste of time.
Yeah. I've seen a lot about 06.
Yeah, I've seen people try to play 06 and then stop after one stream because they're so dang frustrated with the game. That it's not just that it's, silly and stupid from a story standpoint, but that the controls are so bad that it's not fun to play. And that it's become a meme for many reasons, so people try it because teehee meme game, and then they realize, no, It's just bad. It's just bad.
Right. Yeah. I just, the Game Awards were recently, so me and my Discord were kind of watching it like on our own, but talking about it.
Nice. I was watching with some friends as well.
Yeah, and the new Sonic movie trailer was up there, and I was just so excited because I truly liked the Sonic movie. I thought it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about the new movie coming out, and everybody was just making fun of me because they're bullies.
Well, they don't know fun. I genuinely agree that I thought the Sonic movie was very good. I think it's one of the best video game movies we've ever gotten. Jim
It
Carrey
is,
was in his
yeah.
element, and the redesign is probably the best decision that the studio has ever made, because I saw the poster for Sonic 2 and I was like, that looks good. That just, and I'm not sure if you've seen, but some people did image manips where they put on the old design of Sonic, the one where it was crazy eyes and the teeth and everything, and just
Yeah, yeah.
there's no way that we would have gotten the sequel. That some people would have watched it for the meme, but I don't think enough people would have given it a chance. And I'm sure it was difficult for the animators. I feel for the animators that had to go through that remake, but the final product just, it felt good, and I'm really excited to see what they do with Knuckles and Tails. I think Idris Elba is an interesting casting. It's not who I would have picked, but I'm game. Sure, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
He's certainly a big enough name that he's going to help bring people in the door, and he's done his fair share of big name action things and even sillier ones, Suicide Squad among others, so I'm sure he can carry Knuckles. Big question is going to be who plays Shadow.
Right? That's what I'm wondering. I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, so when are they putting Amy and Shadow in it?
And I like that they're not putting them all in at the same time, but they let one just be Sonic's movie. Just have him. And that this time they're bringing in Tails and Knuckles, bring the trio together, but not inundating us with all these characters. And I feel like you're right that the next logical additions would be Amy and Shadow, maybe Rouge as well, but I don't know if she's necessarily vital. If you want someone to talk Sonic with, Pocky Akiba is super into Sonic. We discussed it a lot when she was on. That's one of the fun things that this is now episode 45, so I'm able to start recommending VTubers to each other, being like, oh, you like this thing? I know someone else who's super into that same thing. You should talk with them. And after a bit of deliberation, we decided that Benedict Cumberbatch should be cast as Shadow.
Yeah. That's honestly, it's not horrible.
We felt that he could
that's not
do
bad.
that level of snarky, and even if he has the British accent, I don't think it matters. That Idris Elba has an accent, so there's obviously no problem there, and it's a big name. It'll get people in the door, and yeah, that's who we thought of. So come on, I forget who does. I think Paramount. Come on, Paramount, hire us.
Right?
Ooh, Ron Perlman. Anti-Gravity Slime Pig, that's an interesting one. I am a big fan of Ron Perlman. I always remember his performance as Slade in Teen Titans, but that's me
Oh, I
going
didn't
off on
know
my
he
own
did that.
tangent. This is Eros' show, not mine.
That's a good choice. That's not like somebody I would have thought of, but that honestly works.
Okay, or Mads
well.
Mikkelsen, I could see that. If you could either create a Sonic game that, you're the game's director and you have full control, or a Sonic movie, you get to do any one project, what would you do with it? What would you want to see from the Sonic franchise?
I think I honestly have like zero ideas how to make like a good Sonic game. I don't, because Sonic's thing is that he goes fast, he collects the rings, so it's like I don't know what I would want to do to make it good, which is what I'm sure is a big dilemma.
That's
But
fair.
like Sonic, Dark Souls, right?
Okay. well, we got that halfway with Shadow the Hedgehog.
Right? Yeah. That's just like Sonic Bloodborne, pretty much.
Now, I'll twist the question slightly. You are given complete power to, direct the production of a Pokemon game. What do you do with it?
Okay. I feel like this is kind of controversial in that people understand why Game Freak did it, but I would first off bring in all the Pokemon back in. No more Dexit, no Dex cuts. That is so important to me. I was a bit upset, a bit miffed, but I understand why they did it.
I'm honestly
And I
surprised it took them until this point to do it. I understand
yeah,
that it was a painful bandage to rip off, for sure, but just there's so many. I don't know if it's feasible, really, at this point for them to
yeah.
do it. But I did say, blue sky production here, that you can do whatever you want. So baseline, we have everything.
And then I think I would just honestly like, because Pokemon, it's such a big company. Like, I would want individual animations for moves, which I know it's not. That's very highly unlikely and would take so much work, but it would be so cool.
Yeah,
And then
I feel like that's one of just the major hurdles that the Pokemon Company has to deal with now, of just sheer scale
yeah,
and
yeah.
practical implementation of resources.
There's so many Pokemon and they all look so different. It would be insane to, give everybody their own animations for every move that they can possibly
We
learn.
would need
it's
a
not.
Legend of Zelda style development period of just 5-6 years.
Yep, I agree. And then I don't know. I really like the Pokemon formula there is now. Honestly, I don't mind it at all. I know some people find it very repetitive, but if anything, maybe just like how Arceus is going, like an open world. You can kind of catch them. I'm not super sure on gameplay yet because I'm not trying to watch
Avoiding the trailers.
trailers. Yeah, I just kind of want to be
Yay,
surprised on what's
finally
going
another
on.
trailer avoider.
Yeah. I barely watched any Elden Ring gameplay or anything. I would like to be surprised.
Yeah, if it's for a franchise that I already know, if it's for a title that I'm already going to buy or see in theaters, like, I haven't seen any of the Spider-Man trailers. I'm planning on seeing that this week, but I know I'm going to see it. I don't want
so
to
good.
see anything in the trailers. I don't want any spoilers that some obviously have just come across my social media feed, so I know a couple things. I know about the villains that are going to be in there, okay, but
Right.
I don't want to know anything more than I need to.
Right. Yep.
But
it's such a good movie though, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm very happy to see that the early reviews are coming in just so pretty much unanimously positive.
Yeah. I mean, it's truly something.
It's kind of baffling how good Marvel has gotten at what they do. It's just, by all rights, the MCU should not exist for a combination of licensing reasons, creative reasons, and just sustained quality reasons.
Right.
I'm not saying that all of the MCU movies are, classics, but the level of consistency of just a bad MCU movie is still, if you were to take pre-MCU standards, would still be an above average movie by pre-MCU standards.
I'm not a super like MCU fan. I'm more I like Spider-Man, but MCU is just, people are so crazy for it. People go insane for those movies. There's people who consume like all of Marvel's content, like the shows.
Yeah, I'm not at that level. I haven't seen WandaVision. I haven't seen anything on Disney Plus, but I've seen all except for like 4, I think, of the MCU movies that I haven't seen either of the Ant-Mans. I didn't see the first Hulk movie, and I didn't see Iron Man 3 or Thor 2. So yeah, I missed a couple, but I've seen the majority.
Yeah, I've only seen Endgame. I didn't even watch Infinity Wars. I saw Endgame, and I've seen both the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think that's it. Aside from the new Spider-Man.
You saw good ones, and I think they did a very good job of making Endgame approachable for people who didn't see Infinity War, which I think was a very smart choice, just marketing-wise, because that movie itself was such an event. It was the culmination of basically 10 years of work, and the portals scene was just that was one of the moments in the theater I was just saying, this shot here shouldn't exist, but it does, and that's impressive.
Yeah, I agree. They did something really awesome with that movie.
Are there any movie series? Well, actually, no, I'm going to switch that because I know the answer to it because you told me. And it didn't click with me the first time I saw your model. And you don't have your normal outfit on right now. You're dressed festively, but your normal model has goggles. And
Right.
I obviously noticed the goggles. It's not something that you have on every model, but it I never thought, I wonder why the goggles. Where are they from? I just figured, okay, maybe, she likes the aesthetic or something. But you mentioned that Scott Pilgrim versus the World is something that you are very fond of, and that Ramona Flowers was a big inspiration for Eros as a whole. And I have to assume that the goggles are that, the physical representation of Ramona Flowers.
Yeah, and the hair for sure, because she has really short hair and then two like long strands in the front as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, she's just a character I've always loved like so much.
Yeah, I remember I actually saw the midnight premiere of that movie with some of my friends, and just the theater applauded when the 16-bit Universal theme came on, and what a blast! I don't classify that as a video game movie, but it's
Right.
it's up there for some of my all-time favorites. It was so fun. It had so much heart. Have you read the graphic novels or just seen the film?
Yeah, I actually started with the graphic novels. When I was a kid, like in middle school, was when I was mainly into like a lot of manga and anime. And for Christmas, I asked for just like some random manga series because I would read anything I could get my hands on. And my aunt bought me the Scott Pilgrim set uh, of the comics, and then she was like, "Oh, this is American manga," and I was so upset because it wasn't what I wanted. I
Yeah,
was very
you're
mad.
reading left to right.
Yeah, exactly. And then I delved into them eventually, and I just loved it so much. It has always stuck with me. And this was like way before the movie, so when the movie came out, it was amazing. And then now the game is available again as well, because
Yeah.
that was taken away for a long time,
Mm-hmm. So
which is it's very fun.
yeah, I saw the movie in theaters and then read the graphic novels after the fact. So I know the differences between the two, and I also, if memory serves, read that the last volume was being written while the movie was being developed. So
Mhm.
I know the author, Brian Lee O'Malley, I believe it
Right.
was very actively involved in the film's development. So the changes were all, they had his blessing. But the shot with Scott dying the first time and the arrow that says dead was apparently in the film first, and he liked that shot so much that he put it into a panel in the graphic novel.
That's honestly so cool. I don't think I know a lot of Scott Pilgrim trivia, just like
I
general
don't know
knowledge, and
much either. I
obviously,
just know like
yeah,
that one thing.
but that
But
is very cool. Very, very cool. I could honestly see that.
and
They did a like a really good job on the movie, just staying very true to the graphic
okay, yeah,
novels.
that was going to be my next question. Of as someone who had read the graphic novels first, how did you feel about the adaptation? Because it wasn't a one-to-one. That they made a lot of changes. That the Katayanagi twins basically got nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was definitely a lot of cut content. But I think it's really good. I think it did as well as it could have with I mean, there's like 12 graphic novels, right?
I think it was
So,
6, but they're long graphic novels.
yeah, it's just I think they did a great job. There's so much detail in those. It's great.
Yeah. So if anybody in chat has seen the movie but not read the graphic novel, do seek them out. That I'm sure they're still being printed. I don't know, like what publisher has it, but Google it, go on Amazon, or find a local bookstore. I'm sure you'll be able to get your hands on them. They are not rarities, and they are very much worth your time.
Definitely agree. Definitely agree. They're amazing.
Was there anything in particular about Ramona that really resonated with you that has made her such a, impactful character for you?
I just think she's like one of the coolest characters even like ever written. She just kind of does whatever she wants and doesn't care too much, even though, on the inside she's a little insecure, which obviously as like a middle schooler I didn't pick up on that, but I thought she was so cool. I asked my dad, like shortly after reading the comics, to buy me a pair of goggles off of Amazon, which is the first thing I ever got off of Amazon, and I wore them to school just like Ramona. And shortly after that, I started dyeing my hair, and even to this day, I still dye my hair different colors, and it's just because of Ramona, just because I thought she was so amazing.
Did the teachers say anything about the goggles, or did they just, not ask?
Teachers didn't, but kids would ask me if they were swimming goggles, which they look like my model's goggles. So obviously, no.
They were.
But
Yeah.
I didn't ever get in trouble or anything for them, and I have
Well,
no
that's
idea where
cool.
they are, but I wore them religiously.
That's amazing. So, when it came to your model, I don't usually ask about my guest designs. That there's a lot of interviewers out there, and most of them ask those types of questions, and I think they're better at it than I am. But I want to ask you about it specifically because you did your own, and because you mentioned that there were those influences. So, like, I noticed that pink and blue are the two primary colors. They're the ones that your eyes are. In your normal outfit, that's where the X and O's are. If memory serves, those were the first two colors of Ramona's hair. Is that intentional, or is that happenstance?
That's actually not intentional at all. That's really funny. I chose pink and blue. Well, so partially because I'm a designer, and one of the big like color, well, not trinities, because black is included. It's just cyan, yellow, and magenta, but I don't like yellow, so I just kept the cyan and magenta.
Gotcha. And your model is the only one that you've done, but you do some other art, specifically logo art. So I'm actually going to shift us to another screen right now, and I just realized. Hi, chat. I just realized that since I had made other changes to the other scene, I needed to make the changes here. So you should hear me now, but give me a moment while I get Eros in. That should be in now. So now you should be able to hear Eros again.
Hello.
Good. Now, give me one moment to get in the window, because this has to go in as well. Let's see here. I think it was this one. Nope, that one wasn't it. So it would have to be this one. There we go. Okay. Whoop. That's not right. Okay, now let me resize this. Haha. Well, they can hear you now, so let's go on and discuss. We have Bunny's logo up here. I saw Bunny in the chat earlier. I don't know if she's still here, but you actually told me that this particular logo you did on stream.
Yeah, I typically don't do logos on stream because my process is kind of chaotic and I like to start and stop a lot on logos. But this is one of the first ones I ever did on stream, and Bun was there helping me. And that's why it honestly turned out as good as it did. It's probably one of my favorite logos. It's just so cute. But another reason why I chose this one specifically is because there's a reason why I don't do logos on stream anymore, and it's because people, which I think is really funny, will come in and they will backseat my logo design. I get so many people that will come in, they'll be like, you need to move that more to the left, or this isn't even, and I'm just like, okay, thank you, thanks for your input.
If somebody wanted your advice, they would have commissioned you for that advice.
Right? it's so funny to me because I have my degree in design. Like I went to college for it and
Oh, neat.
everything. So like I know what I'm doing. It's just so funny to me that really the only person's input that matters is the person who is commissioning me. So I was, talking to
Yeah,
Bun there,
yeah. If Bun is in
you
the chat
know.
saying, "Hey, let's do this change," okay,
Yeah.
that's one thing. They're the client. It's gonna be their logo. That's fine. But anyone else, shut up.
Right, exactly. It was so funny to me. And this is why I don't have the patience to deal with that. So I don't do any logos on stream aside from like, oh, you guys want to see what I'm looking on or working on real quick, and I'll like flash it up on screen and that's it.
Yeah,
Cuz I just cannot handle that.
very understandable. I myself have no artistic ability whatsoever, so I'm always just, floored by all the things I see. That there's so many talented artists in this community, and your logos are super fun, very diverse. So I forgot to set aside your card URL, but I know it's on your Twitter profile. So your Twitter link is here on screen. So follow Eros on Twitter if you aren't already. You can find her commission form there, and she has just an incredible portfolio. So for this one that you did on stream, what is your process that you usually go through? That obviously you start with the name, I assume, but where does it go from there?
So typically I have a like pretty, I feel at least, extensive form that's like I have to ask questions like what kind of vibe are you wanting? What aesthetic do you want? Is there any specific parts of your model that you like are important to you and that you would like to be incorporated? So Bun had these little like this little bunny character that's over the eye. So that was like a big important one. But Buns I went a lot more simple with. Typically I start with the text and then I'll draw out a color palette from the model typically. And then I'm in a lot of my logos, I really love to do like the white with the outline because it makes it a lot more cute and also it makes it easier to stand against any
Any background,
background.
yeah, because it
Right.
creates that inherent buffer from
Yeah.
whatever it's being put over.
I never know what kind of overlays, streamers are gonna have. So I always test it on like numerous backgrounds to make sure like, okay, this is gonna come through. With this logo, I actually struggled a little bit though because Bun wanted these little dots and hearts and diamonds around it,
the
and
particle effects.
yeah, and I'm not super good at like randomizing things, so I kept putting them like in a pattern subconsciously,
Oh,
and she had
too
to like
uniform.
DM me, yeah, and draw it out kind of how she wanted it, and it worked so well. I was so happy. I love this logo so much.
Yeah, was it intentional that the bunny is effectively dotting the eye, or did it just happen to be there? Because it also creates the symmetry with the top end of the B.
Yeah, definitely wanted both of those things. I try to keep my logos very symmetrical, and I also just love, like I do it in a lot of my logos, changing the dot of the eye to like different things. I'll do like hearts or something, or whatever the VTuber needs. So definitely intentional.
Awesome. And like you said, the white helps it stand out against any background. I had to put in this white block in the background because some of the other logos that I had pulled didn't go well against the dark blue skyline that I have as the background, because all good late night talk shows have that skyline background. That's where that comes from. But the next one that I had, that one was, you actually did the logo for Yokomeshi. And this one is pretty simple. It's, just text, but it's still a fun one. Was there anything in particular? I imagine that Yozo was probably the one that commissioned this, since
Yozo
runs
contacted me.
Yeah.
She contacted me and she's like, hey, can you do a logo for me? I'll pay you the big bucks. And I was like, all right, cool, sure. And I was like, what do you want? And she's like, I don't know, man, just go crazy. So I think she specified that she wanted kind of a energetic, like color palette, energetic feeling. So I was like, all right, sure. Blue and like a bright yellow sounds great. And then I just whipped this up like right before I went on vacation. So it was super chill. I love this logo so very much. It's very different, I feel like, from a lot of my different ones.
It's it's simple, but simple is not the right phrase here. Okay, well,
It's like
you know what? I'll
minimalistic almost.
yeah, I'm gonna complete the Kingdom Hearts reference. It's clean. That's what it is.
Yeah, I love this logo. I took on well, when we were like with the group chat before we had even made the team, you know, all of us were in a chat together just hanging out, and we were trying to decide on what the name was going to be for the team. And you know, Shiara, you know, they all have like some Japanese background, more anime and stuff than me. So they were like coming up with all sorts of Japanese names and stuff, and this is the one that they went for. So I wanted to include like more Japanese design inspiration, which they do logos very differently, and I had a lot of fun drawing from that.
And someone in chat has already spoiled the next one that naturally I have to ask about probably your most prolific client, and that would be Zentreya. You know, it's not every day that someone from VShojo has your logo. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear the story behind this one.
This was my craziest logo. So one of my friends on Twitter saw that Zentreya had made a tweet that was like, I need a quick logo. I need a quick logo. And I was like, I was mentioned in it by my friend, and he like added me and he was like, hey, you should throw up your work and stuff, and maybe you'll work with Zentreya. And I was like, you know, I was not as big as I was back then, so I was like, dude, I'll throw it up. You know, I highly doubt she's gonna pick my work, but you know, just for fun, maybe other people will see it and they'll become interested. And then I got a DM from Zentreya. And I lost my fucking mind. I have like screenshots of her like showing up on my phone.
I don't blame you.
I was like, holy shit!
That's a big deal.
And yeah, she added me. She sent me her Discord, so I have her on my Discord friends, which is a flex, even though I don't talk to her. But she needed a logo in the next 24 hours, and I was like,
geez.
oh my
Talk
fucking
about,
god!
Like, challenge mode speedrun, let's go.
Yeah, well, I usually take about 2 weeks for my logos. I like
Which
to
is a very
space them out.
reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. And so she was like, you got 24 hours. I was like, oh my fucking god, okay. And I was shaking. I was freaking out because I looked up to Zentreya so much. She's so cool. So she sent me some inspiration pictures. Like one of the ones she really liked was Baby Metal, which is it's like jagged letters and kind of in an arc. And I was just like, oh fuck, how am I gonna do this? So I struggled for like 2 hours just coming up with concepts, and I was like, no, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. And I finally whipped out my iPad and I drew out this whole design in front of you. And I sent her a sketch and I was like, do you like this? And she was like, oh my god, that's badass. I love it so much. And so I whipped it up in Illustrator as fast as I could. And then I sent it to her, and I had made like 5 different variations of the logo. So I sent all of them to her, and she was like, they all look great. Send them over. And I had like, or she actually asked me for black and white as well.
Yeah,
so
that
like,
one is
yeah,
also
sure.
on the portfolio page. I picked the color one, but I did notice that one was also there.
Yeah, so I made, I think, like 28 different files. All of just different variations, like a black on white one, a white on black one with like her emblem that she sent me, one where the horns are red. Like, just I just wanted to like please her and make her so happy with the logo.
I suppose I'd imagine, I could be wrong because like I said, I'm not an artist, but I would imagine at the very least that palette swapping is among the easier things. So
Yes,
at least that's not, you know, full proper redesigns, that it's changing the settings there, and you need to make sure that you get those settings right for the variations. But it sounds like at that point you were sort of riding high, that you had the green light on the design, you knew that what you had was good, and at that point, did just making those iterations feel kind of like a victory lap, I suppose?
Yeah, it did. I think just more than anything, like I was so excited, but I was so nervous. I was like, I hope she doesn't hate this. I was just so nervous. It was, I mean, I was in a call with one of my friends and I was just like shaking the whole time. I was freaking out so hard. I think I DM'd like 20 people and I was like,
I didn't
bro!
realize that it was a 24-hour turnaround because,
Yeah.
I was just thinking, all right, Zentreya wanted you to do her logo. That's really cool, and how that all happened. But the fact that it was this rushed sort of, first off, cattle call of interest. You throw your name in the ring, get contact, and you're told 24 hours, go. Did you have any plans that you had to cancel because of this, or were you, just on a weekend and happened to have the time anyways?
I think I canceled my stream that day. I think that's as much as it affected.
Okay,
as I
that's not
just
even that
canceled
bad.
stream and worked on it all day.
Sorry,
like,
guys. Doing a thing for VShojo. See you tomorrow.
I was updating my chat like so much. I was freaking out, like just to everybody. And showing like progress pics and stuff and getting just general feedback. It was awesome.
And just the final product is really cool, and it's fantastic that it sounds like she was also, even if she was looking at a quick turnaround, that she was upfront about it. She said from the start it wasn't, a surprise. But it sounds like she was pretty easy to work with as well. That either that or you just happened to be on that wavelength to get what she wanted, and maybe that's why she chose you. That she saw your style and was like, I think this person is going to have that wavelength of what I want.
Yeah, she was super sweet. She was totally nice and just like hyping up my work so hard. She's a big sweetheart, and it like totally changed like how I look at her. Like not that I looked at her bad, but like wow, this person's like actually super cool. Off stream as well. Super easy to work with though. She did not like run me around and make like 50 like million changes and then be like, oh, now put it back.
Well, that's good. That for it being a 24-hour turnaround, it sounds like it was more of a thrill and a. You said that you were shaking, and that's an understandable thing because, big deal, big client, short time span. But it sounds like it was still a really positive experience, and that it certainly is now a fond memory.
Yeah, absolutely. And then because the reason she did a 24-hour like work time was she was debuting her 3D model for the first time the next day. And so she debuted it, and I was like watching her stream, and just like waiting for my logo, and she had it up there, and it was
that's a lot of eyes on your logo.
I was freaking out. I have so many like screenshots of it, and she uses it now.
Yeah, I
as
saw
her
her stream
transition, I think.
just last week. I'm not able to tune into VShojo stuff a lot because I'm always scouting around for guests for the show.
Right.
But
yeah.
I tune into her stuff every so often, and it was like, yep, that logo's still there.
Yeah, I'm very honored. It's the biggest project I've done, the fastest I've done, and it was just exhilarating. It was awesome.
By comparison, everything else hopefully seems easy.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely my most stressful.
Yeah. If you were able to go back now, is there anything that you're like, oh, I would love to change this or clean this up? Or do you look at this and say, this is how it wound up, and that you just really like it as it wound up, even in that short time span?
I think there's some lines I really want to clean up, like looking at it. There's just like very small detail things that I feel like most people won't notice, but like as a designer,
yeah, that as a designer,
with
as
my
the
eye,
artist,
I'm
that
like,
you
oh
know,
my god.
You know all your designs better than anyone else ever will, and that you know every line that you had to redraw more than others, or anything that you don't feel was perfect. And I feel like every artist has that. It doesn't matter if it's a logo artist, if it's a traditional artist, if it's someone who's doing skebs, that the artist is always their harshest critic.
Yep, I agree. I fully agree. It's just looking at it, I'm like, man, oh, I want to fix this up, but she was perfectly happy with it. She was ecstatic, so as long as she's happy, I'm happy.
Yep, yeah, if the client's happy, then everything is all right.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to move us back to the main screen. I don't need to do any audio stuff this time because all the stuff is already here. Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah, so just your work's super good. Like I mentioned, folks, if you're interested in getting a logo from Eros, you can find her commission form on her Twitter bio, so do check that out. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. You mentioned sort of, hopping back to video games for a moment. You mentioned that Banjo-Kazooie is one that is very near and dear to you.
Yes, as a kid, like I was kind of in that era where like I was really young and just getting into video games, and Nintendo 64 was like the only console we had. So my mom had Banjo-Tooie, and she had like, I don't know if she got it secondhand or what, but all 3 files were like 100% complete. And I would just get on it and I would just like run around, and there's options to like go back to bosses, and I would just go back, not know anything that I was doing, and just, go crazy.
Yeah, almost playing the game backwards at that point.
Yeah, exactly, but just dying over and over and over. It's such a cool game though. I enjoy the humor. I like the art style. I think it's an amazing game. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I've had the good fortune of being able to interact actually with the composer from the game, a gentleman by the name of Grant Kirkhope. Delightful Scottish gentleman who has resided in the US for the majority of his life, but still has an incredibly thick Scottish accent. Just super nice guy. And, the music in that game is one that it's very iconic. It's very bouncy, It's fun, it's silly. And Grant himself has actually gone on to do a lot of other scores over the years. He got to work with Nintendo. He did Mario Rayman Raving Rabbids, or it was Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
He did that one. Viva Pinata, for whatever reason, has stood out as one of the big ones in his catalog, but he is still active and is composing, and his work's just great. And yeah, so definitely check out Grant Kirkhope. Really nice guy. Does a lot of fun music, and in general, Banjo-Kazooie. I've always been surprised that Microsoft has not, brought it back. I know the community has been clamoring, and they got the closest thing to new content that they've had in years when Banjo and Kazooie made it into Smash Ultimate.
Right, yeah. They haven't really done much since like the whole failure that was Nuts and Bolts.
Yeah. The music was still good. The game,
it was, yeah.
Not so much.
I honestly could see them remaking it. Well, not even remaking Banjo-Kazooie, but adding on to it and just doing such a good job. I mean, the model exists,
Yeah.
In Smash, it looks amazing. It shouldn't be that hard to make, collect-a-thon that's pretty solid.
Yeah, the sort of remnants of Rare made a company called Platonic, and created what is effectively the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie with Yooka-Laylee. Once again, it's 2 characters, Yuka and Laylee, and named after instruments and that they work together, and it's that type of platformer collecting game. I know it was released on PC. It was done via Kickstarter, so it didn't have a AAA launch, but it's been pretty successful. They did some expansions, and Platonic is still developing games. I don't know what they're working on currently, but if you haven't already checked out Yooka-Laylee, I would see if that's something that you have access to.
Yeah, I've always heard about Yooka-Laylee. I've heard both like negative and good things
I
about
haven't
it.
actually played it, so I'm not sure. I just know that
Yeah.
it exists, and it's the closest thing that we've gotten to Banjo-Kazooie, so...
I should check it out because I feel like that'd be right up my alley. I think that'd be super fun.
So moving past games, I had asked you, what are some of your hobbies and passions? And one thing that you had mentioned was that you're an avid reader. That when you're not playing Souls games and yelling at chat, that you really like to read. And you mentioned that you have a favorite author, but I stopped you from telling me who it was. So who is your favorite author?
My favorite is definitely a writer named Leia Bardugo. She writes, well, actually, Netflix came out with a series based on her books. They didn't call it Six of Crows. They called it Shadow and Bone. That's right. That's her first series.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I watched it, and it combines like two universes from different time because so she wrote the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which is really good, and then later she came out with Six of Crows duology, which is my absolute favorite. And then in Six of Crows, it like mentions the characters from Shadow and Bone, but
so
like after
implied
they're
shared
dead.
universe.
Yeah, but they're like deceased. They're like the character from Shadow and Bone is already a saint. She has statues.
Yeah, generations
She's
later.
dead. Yeah, but in the Netflix series, they like combine the two worlds while they're both still alive. So it's I like stopped watching it.
Oh no.
Her books are so amazing, though. She's a very talented writer.
So what is
I love
Six
everything.
of Crows about? You said that duology in particular is your favorite. So what is the story there? Because it is a name that has come across my awareness. I don't know anything about it.
So it's written from the perspective of like, it jumps around in characters, but basically it's a group of villains, like people who like kill and they gamble and stuff like this, and they are going on a heist to steal. I don't even remember. It's like a crown or something for money, basically. But it's got like semi-mature themes. The characters are really like dynamic and in depth, and like even though they're like bad people, they're not like bad people, and it's written in like
anti-heroes.
Yeah. And there's like magic and stuff, which is pretty cool, but they still got like it's like kind of like an old London theme, like cobblestone roads and like big buildings and stuff, not like technology.
So not steampunk.
But it's yeah, not steampunk, but it's a really amazing books. They're long, but they're amazing. Just absolutely great writing. It's so cool. I read them when I was in high school, and I was absolutely obsessed for so long. And it's the only books I've ever reread in my entire life.
Ooh, very nice. Have you ever considered doing a reading stream? I'm not sure. You mentioned that these are long books, so I don't know how viable that would be. And also just with how interactive you are with chat, you would have to focus on the book the entire time. So I don't know if it would be to your taste or if it's something that you considered, but is that something that's ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, back in the day, it wasn't necessarily books, but I read before I go to sleep, like horror stories, like just short, kind of like creepypastas, but not as cringe.
Mm-hmm.
Every night before I go to sleep, just because I like them. And one time when I first started out, I did readings of those stories, like some of my favorite ones on stream, and a lot of people really liked it. So I played with it, like doing it again, because I read so many horror stories. There's so many,
and honestly,
like,
horror stories
really
are probably better suited than a extended novel like Six of Crows, or really anything that would take more than a single stream to do. So yeah, that sounds a lot better, frankly, than my idea.
Yeah, I should honestly look into doing it again, because it's very fun. I just know that sometimes, because they're like independent, authors who are just posting on a forum for people to read their stuff, they do take issue sometimes with like
people using their content.
There's like YouTube channels. Yeah, there's YouTube channels that'll read them out, like Lazy Masquerade and stuff like that, and they don't really like that, so I'd have to do some research and like accumulate and talk with them.
Yeah.
And see if it's fine.
but I suppose you've just stumbled upon a sort of extra niche here, being horror stories. So,
Yeah.
does this come from, campfire spooky stories as a kid, or, scary stories to tell in the dark, that classic book that most people had when they were young? Do you recall where your fascination with that subgenre began?
Absolutely. My mother is very into horror. Very, very, very into horror. As a child, she would wait outside the bathroom door to scare
Oh my
me,
gosh.
any dark corner. I'd be doing dishes at night and she would go out the front door, walk around to the kitchen sliding glass door and like stick her face against the door and not even
That's
like tap or
commitment.
scream. Yeah, no, she loves it. She still does it to me as an adult. I got to be wary when I go over to her house. If I open the door, I know that her face is going to be right there in mine and her yelling to scare me. So as a child, she would watch when I was a child, she would watch all sorts of horror movies. Like I remember watching like The Ring and The Grudge, Jeepers Creepers, like all sorts of movies as a kid. And she would read to me like scary stories tells in the dark, or she would make up her own horror stories and she would collaborate with my uncles and aunts. So she'd
Oh
be
wow,
like,
so this was an entire
yeah,
like family thing.
my family's very, very, very much into horror. They love it. But she'd be like, she'd be telling me and my little sister a story like there was a knock at the door, and she would have like texted my aunts and uncles, and so they'd start banging on the
Oh
door,
my
and it would
god, like
scare the
full
shit out of us.
coordinated productions at this point. This is
Yeah,
this is going beyond a story. This is actual, like theater.
yeah. My mom loved to traumatize us.
Incredible. I am an absolute wimp when it comes to horror. I do not like horror stories. I don't like horror movies. I've seen Cabin in the Woods, but that feels more like a deconstruction of the genre than an actual horror film. Um,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's really any other proper horror films that I've seen. If there is, I've probably shut them out because I can't remember them. That is not to my taste. Another VTuber recommendation, Yami, who is actually a very say-so. He's a preschool teacher VTuber, part of Foodtopia, but he loves horror. So, if you ever want to talk that with somebody, Yami is definitely someone to get in touch with who you might not expect to be into that type of thing, but he very much is.
Yeah, I know of him and like his brand. I didn't know he was into horror. That's actually really cool.
Yeah. Have you ever tried your own hand at writing scary stories, or do you just prefer to, read and curate and find good ones?
Not like scary stories, I don't think. I think I've probably tried like in high school. But it's such like an art to, give people like the heebie-jeebies. You gotta be very articulate and create such an eerie environment and really pull people in.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if I could do it, and I don't have any, good ideas. Maybe if one pops up one day, I could definitely try it because I used to write a lot and have like impublished and won awards.
Oh wow. Well,
Um,
hold on. Obviously, I don't want you to dox yourself because if it's published, that means your name's out there. So don't dox yourself. But as much as you are comfortable with discussing, that's huge. Publishing stories,
yeah.
winning awards. You've said already it's not for horror. So what genre was it?
I would write poetry actually. That's what's published. And then for I won a state and national award for I wrote about what my life has been like because it's very complex. I've talked about it a lot on stream. Just I've been through a lot of hardships. So I basically just wrote,
Sort of
you know,
autobiography.
yeah, exactly, and it won several awards.
That's so cool. So was this in high school or college then?
Yeah, it was in high school.
Mm-mm. That's really neat. So have you ever tinkered with the idea of continuing to write? Is that something that you still do actively, or is that something that is now sort of, I suppose, pun half intended, a past chapter?
I would love to write again. I haven't written in a super long time. it's just not something I think about as much anymore, but I think it would be extremely fun. I think just the problem is now is I'm super busy and I don't have a
Gestures
lot of
broadly to your
ideas.
streams and art commissions. Yeah, a
Right.
little busy, just a bit.
But I feel like I write pretty well. I've thought about reading like I took several creative writing classes in high school and college and reading some of the stuff I wrote on stream. Just getting out those old journals and notebooks and reading it to people. I feel like that could be super fun, but I'd love to delve back into writing.
That's super cool. Poetry has never been my strong suit. The closest I really got to being into poetry was one thing I did in high school was it's called forensics, and it's not forensic science, but
Yeah,
forensics
I did
is.
forensics as
Oh,
well.
nice. Okay, cool. So I don't need to explain it to you. I just need to explain it to chat that forensics, in this sense, is public speaking. And because I did theater throughout high school, always enjoyed that. And my senior year, the drama director for my high school was also the sponsor for the forensics club, and she would regularly pull in kids from the drama club to compete to just, if she felt someone was good for it, or if she needed some people to help some of the other members of the club, because there is a fair bit of overlap in acting and forensic speaking. But for forensics, you're standing behind a podium or a music stand, whatever is holding your papers, and you are not allowed to move. You're allowed to gesture. You're allowed to shift your stance a bit and, look at different angles to represent different characters speaking, but you are not doing conventional acting. So
Yeah, you kind of pantomime.
yeah.
Right? It's like reading a monologue out loud, but also you have zero props, but you have to make it believable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I competed in a couple of categories, but one of them was poetry, and I picked it strategically because I figured it was going to be the one that had the least number of competitors. I was right. For all the pieces I did, it was selfishly selected. I never picked something because I thought it would perform well or do well for the judges. I had to really like the piece. But when I made the decision of, okay, I'm going to try something in poetry, I chose Lewis Carroll. So I did The Walrus and the Carpenter and Jabberwocky, and I have those two poems memorized to this day. I did actually make it to the county finals. Didn't end up winning. No, I didn't place, but I got to the semifinal round. I got third place in the county for children's literature.
That's so cool.
But what about you? So you did forensics as well. I don't think I've ever had another guest that has done forensics.
Yeah, I did forensics in high school. I always did DI, which is dramatic interpretation. So it's always like the depressing stuff.
Yeah, that was the one category I didn't want to do because there was dramatic and prose, which was basically the catch-all other category. I did that once, but I never wanted to do dramatic because I don't like depressing stuff, and like I said, it had to be a story I wanted to do. So what pieces did you do in dramatic?
I did one about domestic abuse where the husband eventually ended up killing her daughter. So again, really depressing stuff. But a lot of people really liked it. I placed a lot in it. And then I did poetry, but I also just kind of chose whatever I liked. So I chose one of the most popular, unbeknownst to me, popular poetry picks, which is Shane Koizen, who does like the pork chop poem and stuff. It's everybody does it. So
yeah,
it didn't turn out that great.
The go-tos that you could tell were probably sort of pushed by the club's sponsors and runners of just, if they had someone who wanted to be in a certain category or was new and didn't know what pieces to do, that they had this short list of pieces. And you could tell because every competition, there would always be at least 2 or 3 people, sometimes more, doing these pieces. One that really sticks out to me was The Lottery. Was a short story that I remember seeing just a ton of. And I think that was usually done in dramatic because sometimes they combine the rooms for them. But are you familiar with that story?
It sounds really, really familiar,
It's this
honestly.
short, dystopic, depressing story where this village has a annual lottery where uh, one person basically becomes human sacrifice, and
Yeah, no, I
that
think I
they
know
all have
exactly
to
what you're
pick
talking about.
slips of paper out of this box, and then the one slip of paper that has a black charcoal mark on it, they get stoned, and it's all about this young girl watching everyone else take their turn at the box, pick out a slip, open it, it's blank, and just slowly but surely she's the last one to pick it, and she is stoned at the end of the story, and it's really freaking grim.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't even know why that one sticks out to me. It probably was just because I heard it so many times. It's like, oh gosh, I need to hear this depressing thing again. Come on.
I always hated when you would go to competitions and you get into the same room with like the same like two people over and over, so you just
Oh
have to hear their
yeah,
piece over
yeah, because
and
that's the other
over.
thing. Yeah, that for those in chat who don't know all this stuff that we're talking about, because we're doing a bit of inside baseball at this point, there would usually be more people in any given category than they would have in a certain room, because it would usually be 3 rounds for a competition. And so what they would do is they would split people into usually groups of 5 to 7-ish, and each round would then last about an hour, hour and a half. That way you could have everyone going and doing 3 rounds of hour and a half over the course of a day. So you could then do that, and when you're not performing, you're then just sitting and listening to the others in your room, and half of the fun is being able to hear what the other people have, because it's cool seeing other people perform, especially if they're good at it and doing a engaging performance. And it sucked when it just, however, the random algorithm that they did worked, or some places would even just have it be the same group each time. That meant that you were hearing the same story 3 times over the course of the day. And it's one thing when you're performing the same thing 3 times, because as a performer, you don't mind. That's your thing, that's your performance. It's something that you have connected with, and that's why you're doing it. But when you have to see someone else doing the same thing, even if they're doing it well, it can wear on you pretty quickly.
Absolutely, especially if they're not very good at
Oh,
it.
yeah. No, that was always the worst, when it was just that awkward thing of you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, I feel a bit better because I know I'm in a place ahead of you, but oh.
Right? Yeah. My siblings are actually still they're in high school and they do forensics, so they will call on me to judge now. Which is always such a fun time, right? Because you get to go back to high
Yeah,
school and then you sit in these rooms and you see these kids, and it's just
and you,
some of them, it's just wild how good they do or how bad.
yeah, because sometimes you get these people who are just really good, and usually every school or county or state is going to have a small handful of just like golden performers that they're constantly placing super high in all the categories, and 9 times out of 10 it's very justified. Sometimes you can't figure out if there's nepotism going on or if the judges see something that you don't, but usually, like I said, 90% of the time it's because you have some really talented people in there, and
Exactly.
it can be really cool just seeing someone go up there and kick butt.
Yeah, some people are just absolutely amazing. They just take it like so much further, and they just get completely like lost in their character, and you just believe it, you know?
Yeah. That's really cool that you get called on as a judge. I grew up in Maryland, but I currently live in Texas, so I don't get to go back to my high school or college for things like that. But while I was in college, I occasionally would do a couple things at my high school, and it is fun being able to go back to your old stomping ground and see the teachers that you like that are still there, and tactfully avoid the teachers that you don't like that were still there.
Right.
But you wouldn't actually, take that offer to go back if you weren't excited to do so. And it's cool that that's something that you have.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that I get to do it. I honestly, I love watching like forensics performance, you know? Usually, you don't get to pick the category when you judge,
Yeah,
so
they'll just
it's
assign
usually a
you
toss up, but
that if you've been there a while and you know the person who's running it, you might be able to request and say, hey, can you put me in the poetry room today? Can you put me in the dramatic room today? And if you have that relationship and have been judging for a while, they might indulge you. But for the most part, you're right. It's just you've signed up and you're gonna go wherever the heck they say.
Exactly.
What? So, how many pieces did you do over your course of high school, if you can recall?
Like I had, well, in DI probably like 4, I think, because we would change like every semester, and I did it for 2 years. And then I only did the one poetry, and then I was like, nah, this I like doing DI better.
Yeah, I did the one poetry, and then did other categories. Partially, I don't think I would have found other poems that I was as excited to do as Lewis Carroll, but since I only did it my senior year and it was a year-long thing for where I went to school, that there was 3 competitions over the course of the year, and then there was the county finals at the end of the year. If you ranked in the top third of any of the first 3 competitions, but once you qualified for a category, you couldn't compete in it again, that you were qualified for the finals but couldn't repeat. So I had done poetry in my first competition, so I didn't have the option anyway, but I don't think I would have. But I did prose. I did a chapter from the Halo book, Fall of Reach, and this was before the Reach game came out. And remember, I tricked the drama director into letting me do that one because I didn't tell her the title of it when I first presented, because I knew this director because I had been in the drama club since I was a freshman. She was a very nice lady, but I knew that she was prone to being biased on certain things, not like super important things, but that she like everyone had her biases. And I just knew if I told her I wanted to read something from Halo, that she would say no. So
Right.
and she would always have people perform for her before the competition just to, make sure that she wasn't sending anyone who was woefully unprepared, just as a security check type of thing. And so I performed mine, and I just called it Reach. That's all I called it. And I performed, and she was like, thumbs up, really good job. That was really interesting. So I was like, thanks. It's from the Halo games. And she suddenly looked very hesitant, and I said, you already said it was good. You said it was good. You can't go back on it. And she was like, fine. But when I performed it at the competition, I didn't call it Halo again because I didn't want the judges to be biased.
Right, yeah. I honestly think if someone came in while I was judging and was like, this is from Halo, I'd be like, I don't know.
Were there any particular pieces that stand out to you as ones that you were either really proud of or that you felt were super unique and you knew going in no one else was going to have that piece?
I honestly think just my first one that I mentioned earlier about the domestic violence, it just really spoke to me. It was so beautifully written. I barely remember it because I graduated in 2017, so it's been quite a long time. But I did like, our professor would make us like do like character backstories, like get inside the character's head, give them a reason for everything that they did. And so I just went crazy with it, and I wrote some really really beautiful personal stuff that I put into that production.
Oh wow, that's cool. That you went deeper than I did in that case. That I didn't do all those extra steps, but I can very easily see how that would be valuable for a performer to do, and I know that is not an uncommon thing to do, so it's really cool that you actually went through those extra steps.
Yeah, we would have, because ours was a class, not just,
Oh yeah,
it
ours
was
was
like
just
a
after school,
full-fledged
like
thing.
once, twice a week.
So our teacher would make us like fill out whole worksheets, explaining our characters, just like details that you wouldn't even think matters, like what their daily life looks like, just all sorts of things that aren't talked about within the piece whatsoever, but makes you have a deeper understanding and appreciation for the character that you're playing.
Yeah, and that's something that really anyone who's doing performance for whether it be, stage acting, voice acting, forensics, what have you, that going into the character's head like that is 99 times out of 100 going to benefit your performance because it, like you said, it gets you in their head. It makes you think about things that aren't even presented in the source material, but you extrapolate from there and figure out, okay, logically from what I have, what are these blanks? How do I fill them out? And then when you have a more complete character to portray, there's all these types of subtleties that you start to bring in that feel natural, and it just escalates a performance from good to something really special.
Yeah, definitely 100% agree.
You mentioned that your siblings are into it now. So do you sort of advise them at all, or are you very hands off and like, I'm not going to coach you. You go through your own thing in your own way?
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, they'll perform for me, and I'll give them like any critiques I see. But for the most part, they're very independent. They're very good at what they do. Going to like national competitions and
Oh, wow.
such. So they do great, but they do always want to perform them for me and just get my take on it, or if there's anything that I would change, or such.
That's cool. Yeah. Mine, we never went beyond the county level, so I knew that there were like states and nationals. For whatever reason, the county that I was in didn't go that far with it, but I knew that those were there, and that's really cool that they're not only able to participate, but they're actually succeeding and able to qualify for those higher levels. That's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. It's amazing. They're very talented.
So, one thing that we didn't discuss earlier, but I saw on Twitter the other day that you mentioned, you said that if people talked Greek mythology, that you wouldn't stop for a while. And you hadn't told me about that. So, I'm pulling the trigger here. Greek mythology. What is it for you? That is this something that came from like history classes? Is this because of literature? What is it about Greek mythology that gets you?
I think, as a kid, it probably started with like watching Hercules and such. But I love Greek mythology. I took college classes on it, just like focused on Greek mythology. It was so much fun. But that's why my name is Eros. Is a Greek god. I
I
love it.
mentally knew that Eros was a Greek god, and it was like, okay, that's the thing. I didn't take that simple half-step thought of, I wonder why she chose her name to be a Greek god.
Yeah,
Duh.
that's why I got all the,
Duh. I
the
feel really
hearts
dumb
and the
now.
XO. Yeah. And my old design was even more like focused on hearts and such. But that's why I have like the heart in my cheek, the heart eyes, the XOXO. Since Eros is the god of love. So.
Yep. Were there any
I
particular stories? Obviously, Eros was one that definitely resonated. I guess. So, have you read up on the broader pantheon? Are there certain niches? Like, is the lore of Eros one that you know a lot of extra deep things about? How do you consume your Greek mythology?
So a lot of it came from when I was in college. We read the book Tales from Ovid, which is just a collection of different myths. And then we kind of studied, like, because the myths themselves are very interesting, but like the way that they're created and the way that they were seen are even more fascinating to me. Like, for example, right, there's the Tale of Arachne, which for the most part, it was this woman who was great at weaving, and depending on like who is telling it, where you read it from, um, she said she was greater, or Athena just thought she was greater and took offense, or you know, at the end when they do a weaving contest, there's different versions where it's like, oh, Arachne won, and Athena got so angry, she turned her into a spider.
Started a
Or
war.
Athena won. Yeah.
Because that's usually
Yeah.
what happens when a god gets angry in Greek mythology. Wars are
Yep.
started.
But I think it's so interesting that all forms of mythology, no matter which you read, either Athena was pissed off that she lost or that she won, they're all considered true. There's not one that is more true or false than the other. They
Everything is
were all
canon.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's the exact same story but a different outcome or something, it's all it was all regarded as true because the Greek gods were kind of like they instead of like people, they were kind of like more ideas
Yeah, they were
almost. You know, they weren't
concepts.
one specific trait. You know, because there's so many different versions of myths.
Mm. Are there any other pantheons that have really caught your interest, or is Greek mythology just that one particular area for you?
Really, it's just Greek mythology. I think it's awesome. I know a bit about Roman, not very much though. And in high school, I was a little more into Egyptian, uh, but that was a long time ago. Definitely more into Greek.
Mm. So, are there any specific stories, regardless of if it's Eros or any of the other gods that you've mentioned? Are there any stories that you feel are really underrated?
Yeah, I really like I actually read this on stream a little bit from my book when I was talking about Greek mythology is Pygmalion is a man. It's just cuz I think it's a funny story. He like he could get no bitches, right? So he carved a statue and he was like in love with it. He would like, you know, kiss on it, feel on it, like all this stuff. And then he went and prayed to Aphrodite to make it into a real woman, and she did. And
How
then
did it go
he
wrong?
had children. That it actually went really well.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
I, I
Yeah.
I'm so conditioned to expect. Okay, if you ever ask something of the gods, it's monkey's paw or just genie style. What is going to go wrong? How are you being tricked? So
Right, yeah.
that's the other thing. A happy ending in Greek mythology? Wait, that's illegal.
I think they just felt bad that he was kind of in love with the statue and couldn't get
Took
any real
pity.
women. So I'm pretty sure it says like Aphrodite took pity on him and then made the statue into a real woman. It's
Mm.
just very funny to me.
You mentioned that you actually read some of those on stream, so I guess that means you did multiple because you already mentioned that you had done the horror reading stream, but that you've also done mythology reading streams. That's cool.
Yeah. It wasn't like super in depth. I think it was during one of the drunk borns, and I just started talking
Mm,
about Greek mythology. So I just like skimmed it,
yeah.
kind of to show like the style that they're written in, because it's like poetic in a way. It's not like straightforward, which I think is very interesting. So things can be interpreted multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I just wanted to tell them the story about the guy who got no bitches, so he, you know, fell up on a statue and then she became real.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to read that person's name in the chat. S1L3NTD3RP, so we can make waifus real? How do you
If you
pronounce that
pray,
username? Please tell me. I'm curious now.
it's silent dirt. It's leet.
Oh, as soon as you said that, and I sort of flipped my brain to, I was like, oh, I see it now. How did I not see that? Silent derp.
As a kid, I read a lot of Homestuck, so things like that click very instantly.
Gosh. Still, I'm glad that Leet Speak continues to exist in this day and age. It may not be as prevalent, and it's probably a good thing that it's not as prevalent as it used to be, but it is still. I feel like Leet Speak at this point is almost internet mythology of just, those early days, the earliest memes of Leet Speak.
It's honestly really cool. I like leet speak.
It feels, for people our age who really grew up with the internet, it's been interesting seeing things progress over these past 10, 15 years and how far things have come, whether it be video games, which, 15 years ago, actually, so we're not at 15 years yet for the Wii, but, Nintendo 64 and just original Mario 64, we thought that was cutting edge with how many polygons we were seeing there, and now you see stuff like, Dark Souls and Halo Infinite, and we're at the point where we're even past the uncanny valley in most cases for animation and how you can make human faces in CG, that we just blown past that, and VTubers over the past 5 years, that you have Kizuna as that first VTuber when you need all this expensive, very particular peripheral hardware in order to operate a model, and now anyone with a phone can do it.
I love, this is something I think about a lot, but how VTubers have like come so far. I started in July of 2020. Yeah, 2020. And I made like a shitty little Vroid model that I didn't put much effort into. And it's advanced all the way. I remember like when I got my first live 2D model, I didn't even I don't think VTube Studios was around. I had to use like random shitty Steam ones like PRPR Live and just whatever I could find to stream with a live 2D model. And now it's so advanced.
Yeah,
they're adding so much stuff to it. Just the plugins now that you can add.
We've come so far in 1 year. It makes you think about what's going to look like 5 years from now. That just, I wouldn't be surprised if 5 years from now you're able to operate a 3D model off of a phone or a tablet, or a much simpler piece of hardware than what you have right now.
I agree. Yeah, it's very exciting to think about like the future of VTubing, and I hope it stays.
Oh, I'm very confident
as popular it is.
That the way I see it is ultimately VTubing is just a extension of streaming and content creation. That VTubing is not a genre. It's not a specific type of gaming or content creation or personality even. It's just you are using a digital avatar as a representation of yourself instead of using a face cam. That's the only thing, and that can be a PNG because PNG tubers are still VTubers. But the fact that the barrier to entry has gone even farther down than it used to be, that like you mentioned, VTube Studio, and there's free Vroid models, and the advancements that VTube Studio and Vroid models have had in the last year alone are night and day from where they were at this point last year. And obviously, I think that we hit a particular inflection point with the debut of HoloLive English last September. And I think that we've now seen, I don't want to even say a plateau, but we haven't seen that same type of spike, but I think that somewhere along the line, I'm not sure what the catalyst for it will be, but that we're going to see another big spike that's really going to take VTubing truly into the public eye, that it is now a big thing in geeky, nerdy spheres, but it's not quite public consciousness yet.
I agree, honestly. I mean, more and more like internet celebrities are finding out about VTubing and participating in it.
That
it was almost
Amelie
a year ago, but
do her debut just last week or the week before that. And now that you mention it, that might be one of the catalysts that eventually we will see more and more people who are already in the public consciousness get into VTubing, and that might be the gateway, as opposed to a new talent breaking out so much that they reach the public consciousness on their own, but that somebody who already is there comes in our direction.
Yeah, and I mean, it's honestly just such a broad sense. There's all sorts of VTubers out there. You can play a character, you don't have to. There's nugget VTubers, there's anything that you could, put your mind to, you can be it. And I feel like that appeals to a lot of people.
For sure. Plus, from the streamer standpoint, that yes, there is some investment involved, whether it be time of creating your own thing and rigging it, or financial in purchasing it, that after that initial investment, there's a lot of freedom that being a VTuber offers, that you don't need to worry about your appearance of, have you done your hair, have you done your makeup, what is your background looking like, anything like that. And just the freedom to be whoever or whatever you want to be is something that really appeals to a lot of people. And I know a lot of people have really already taken advantage of it, and I think that's one of the main reasons that it's become so big. But also just because, well, cute anime girls and cool mech designs and dragons. Who doesn't like that? That's fun. And people like fun.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
And looking at, good art.
Yes. And going off of that, just sort of the extra industry, for lack of a better term, that has come up from VTubing, that there's now so many people that are able to make a living doing art or rigging or logos or overlays, all these different things, because people need all these different things to do streaming. And that now people and artists who might have struggled at getting, a good number of clients for traditional art or character art are able to go into these new spaces and really, getting on the ground floor and make a name for themselves. Think about Iron Vertex. Nobody had heard of Iron Vertex 2 years ago. Now they're one of the biggest names in this community, and they're doing amazing work. There's so many other talented riggers around, and just it's a good time to be an artist, I think.
Yeah, I never commissioned art before I started streaming. I don't have any OCs or characters or anything like that. And now I'm like, oh, it's about that time again. I should commission more art.
For sure. Backtracking a bit, one of the other things you'd mentioned that you've been getting into lately, and you mentioned it just in passing at one point, was writing in journals, but by extension of that, scrapbooking is something that you said you've really gotten into lately.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of random materials, random paper, textured things, and I got a journal, and I just kind of, it's a way to decompress. Just slap it in there, whatever I feel like. I can draw, I can cut up pages, do anything that I want. It's just kind of a really cool way to express myself, I feel like. And then I've only done a few pages so far since it's a new journal, but it's coming out really beautifully, and I think it's something that I'm gonna love to just have forever and be able to look back on and be like, oh yeah, this is how I felt that day.
What started all of that? Had you seen somebody else's journal or scrapbooking and said, hey, I want to try that? Or was there just sort of, you realize, okay, I have this journal and I have all these different things, and there was sort of a flash of inspiration of, hey, let's try doing this? How did that all start?
So when I was in high school, I always had a notebook with me every year, and I would take that notebook and whenever I had downtime or whatever, whenever I could access it, I would just draw in it, and it would be therapeutic almost. There's a lot of since that was a very dark time, high school, going through life, a lot of venting stuff, just stuff that was able to make me feel better and kind of think out my feelings and how I felt, because I almost never wrote in it, but it was always visual art, whether drawing people, whatever. And I had rules, so I would be like, okay, I always have to date it in the top right corner, and I have to I can only use this page today. Even if I drew just like a smiley face on it, that would be it for that
Just
day.
to put
I can't
something
access
down.
it. Yeah. Well, even if I didn't, there's a lot of skip days where I just didn't have time. But if I had started drawing on that day and then the next day I wanted to go back to it, I would not allow myself to. I had to do it that day or none. So I have this really cool collection of just memories and thoughts, and it helps me remember what I thought, how that day was going, people in my life at that time. And I kind of just really wanted to do that again, because it was something I mainly only did in the 4 years of high school, but it was very special to me, very, very important. So it's just me kind of picking that back up again.
That's really neat. What was the hiatus, for lack of a better term, between when you put it down and when you picked it back up?
Let's see. I'm not good at math. About 4 years, I think.
That's a pretty
since I
significant amount
graduated
of
in
time.
2017.
Did you
Yeah.
feel like you had to get back in the swing of things at all? Were there things that you had to, sort of pick back up? Or was it muscle memory that, when you decided to start doing this again, that it felt like you hadn't missed a beat?
It's definitely muscle memory, since it's not, serious drawings. I don't think about composition or anything. It's just feeling, just like pure raw emotion on the page. The other day I like colored my fingertips black with marker and just like, dragged them down the page. So now there's these finger like,
Scratch marks.
yeah. So it's I have to remember sometimes that like if things come out ugly, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Now, by extension of all this, a question that I realized I probably should have asked earlier. So this means that art in general has been something that you have done for a while. How did logos come into play? Because that's a very specific type of art. And I guess from everything you've said tonight, my best guess is that there was something in one of your classes, because you mentioned you went to school for design. So was there something in a class that involved logos and that was your entry point? And if not, what was it? Because I feel like that's not an area you find yourself in by accident.
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. When I was in high school, I took like every art class available. I knew I wanted to do something art related in college, but I had no ideas. Like I thought animation for a while, but then I know animation like is kind of sucks, like with deadlines and everything. And I eventually took this graphic design class, and I took two because I moved schools every year. And neither of my teachers had any idea what Adobe was. Zero clue. They just were like, go at it. Open the program and figure it out. And I was so into it for some reason. I would look up all sorts of tutorials, how to make cool geometric shapes, how to do like everything. And I was so in love with it. It was just so wonderful to me. And other kids were making like really like ugly stuff, so I felt like really proud. And they would come to me and ask me for help, and my teacher would be like, specifically the reason why I went to college for it, he was like, you're really good at this, you should think about doing this more. And I was like, okay. And then I just went to college for it.
And there you are.
And it was a good decision. I love it. I learned so much. I think design, though, people are more like in school, a lot of people are more perfectionist with design. They're very like particular, like, oh, this needs to be exactly 1 centimeter this way. And it's just it's so funny how perfectionist a lot of designers are.
Yeah.
But it's something I enjoy immensely. I loved my time in college. It was amazing. I miss it, honestly. I did so many projects.
Yeah, logo design and just commercial art as a whole is not what most people think of when they think of art or potential career paths, but it's obviously a very real thing, a very important thing, and honestly, that's where the money is.
Yeah, for sure. If you can get in there, and design honestly has such a like massive branch. I could, if I wanted to do like layouts for like magazines, I have to put the words, the images like exactly where they need to be. I could do websites if I wanted to. I could work on billboards. There's design in literally everything.
It's a broad field. It's a broad term, but I guess I'm curious. I feel like I have a rough definition of design as a space, and I'm curious if you, as someone who is in that space, because I am not, if you think that I am on or off the mark or somewhere close. I feel like design is a combination of visual and spatial awareness.
Yeah,
period.
I think
visual and spatial awareness.
Absolutely. If things are, super cluttered, it's disgusting. It's I honestly feel like design, in addition to what you said, is such like a person has such a unique eye for design that it really feels like your personality and everything you've ever experienced really just goes into it.
Yeah, and just the concept of spacing, like you said, whether it be billboards or a magazine layout, that you don't want to have things cluttered, and concepts like we discussed with Bun's logo, with the symmetry of having not just the dot for the I being money, but also the fact that it then creates the symmetry with the long end of the B. And even Zentrea's was relatively symmetrical. That's definitely aided by the wings, but you also very deliberately drew this arc throughout all of the letters, and you can do that for any given word and create symmetry in that sense, regardless of how long or short the word is. It doesn't matter what letters there are, that you created a shape with the words and were able to craft it in such a way that it would be visually pleasing regardless of what letters were in there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I look at when doing logos is you have to look at it not as just like words, but as a comprehensive piece, one thing together. And not everything needs to be symmetrical. That's just like a personal thing that I like.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of amazing designs that aren't symmetrical at all. But you have to look at it as one piece instead of just a whole bunch of different pieces together. Because if the whole shape isn't good, then it's not going to come together at all.
Yeah. What would you say is the commission or piece that has given you the most trouble? Not from the client side, but just that either the concept was either maybe too vague and you weren't able to nail it down for longer than normal, or that certain aspects made it really challenging. Are there any memories that stick out to you as this is one that I had to really put my mind to in a way that I hadn't before?
I honestly really don't think so. I think I have a very prolific style with very bubbly things, but that's not, all of my teaching. So I feel very, very confident in my flexibility with like doing more like serious fantasy styles, or doing, grunge goth styles, because that's what most of my college work was.
Piece.
Yeah. I feel very, very confident in my skills of flexibility with different styles, because that's something that they hammer into you in design colleges. You need to be able to be flexible. You're not always going to be working with the same type of person, the same type of company. You need to be able to do everything. And I feel very, very confident in those skills, that I can nail almost any aesthetic, I don't think I've ever had, a huge problem with any of my logos. It comes very naturally to me. And it really just depends on the person who is commissioning me. If I can't, for some reason, understand what they mean, I will typically go through their Twitter, comb through their streams, look at their other assets, and kind of form what they like, And I mean, that's really all there is to it. I just try to find out what people like, what their aesthetic is, and put it together.
Are there any types of design projects that you have not had the chance to do that you really hope to do one day? So you've already done logos, that's off the table, but you mentioned, magazine layouts or billboards. Are there any types of projects that you say, I hope someday I get to do that thing?
I mean, professionally, I would love to do. I think UI design is really cool, like for apps and such. Product design is so much fun. But I have done. I mean, in college, I did everything. I made soda labels. I made websites. I did billboards, posters, everything you could think of. I've done it all before, and I have it all in like my actual professional portfolio. I have done everything. I've made apps. I mean, they really want to hammer into you all these different branches that you can take, and it's very fun. There's always projects that are like, okay, so you need to make a website, but you also need to make billboards, promotional materials, magazines.
Yeah, you have to have the full marketing campaign written up here.
Exactly. It is. I honestly think it's so much fun. I love it so much.
I went to school actually for marketing, primarily that I
Oh
gotta
yeah.
agree with for marketing and information systems. And information systems is basically a fancy term for not software development, but the applied use of existing software for organizational and business purposes. But my main area of study was marketing, so it makes me appreciate product design and logo design and the people who can do that type of art even more, because I studied and learned how to effectively use and create those types of things, but I do not have any of the skills to actually create any types of assets on my own. Like I said, no artistic ability whatsoever. But as soon as you said product design, I was like, oh, I know exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah. Marketing goes very much hand in hand with design. It's really cool to look at both sides.
Yeah. I guess by extension of that, would there be a particular brand or something that you'd say, oh, I'd love to work on a campaign for them or design one of their products?
Oh my gosh, I love working with like 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 I said, I've done soda labels. That is so much fun. You get so much creativity. I don't think there's a particular brand I really want to reach out to. There's a lot of like studios that I'm very interested in like working with, where they just kind of bring you in-house and they give you clients that they've picked, which I think is so much fun. But not a specific brand. I do a lot of like artistic illustration design. So ones like, I don't know, like Sonic has some really cool ones that they've done, like campaigns they've done in the past
Now,
where
hold
they're
on.
allowed to be like
Are we
very
talking Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic the fast food franchise?
fast food, fast
Okay,
food.
I was pretty sure that's what you were talking about, but since we talked Sonic the Hedgehog earlier, I had to make sure.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you,
They-
Lightning Speed 09, Goose in the Trash, and Asphyxia 0907 for the follows.
I love any brand that lets people do like vectorized art instead of just, you know, very uniform kind of stuff. I like to have a lot of fun with my design. In college, the way my professors would describe my like portfolio design was like it ranges. I have two sides. Ranges from like childish, you know, I did a lot of child brands, to like very like grunge kind of punk stuff.
Yeah, and we see that very much with Buns and Zentrea's logo, that you hit those two extremes very well.
Yeah, they're my favorite. I made like kids apps and stuff, and then I made like music festival posters, you know. Just two different sides of the scale that are my absolute favorite.
That's neat, and it sounds like you went to a really good school that was able to prepare you and teach you. You said that they really showed you all these different branches and paths and areas, which is really good because, frankly, one of the things that I didn't like about my marketing education is I felt that it was too broad, that part of it might just be a symptom of marketing as an area of study, because one, just public trends and marketing data changes so fast that by the time it can get into a college textbook, it's 2 years outdated. So I suppose
Right.
in some ways it is best to teach the broad concepts and not drill in specific things, because it might not be valid, and then that's just or business terms, sunk costs. But at the same time, I feel like it was almost too broad, that it didn't show in depth all the different types of areas of marketing for, you know, how does one area, like how does the entertainment industry, even if we're not going into something specific of movies or games or visual novels, that how does this industry necessarily change from the consumer products industry or things like that. So in my own professional life, I've had to learn a lot of the specifics along the way, but at the same time, I have used a lot of the broad teachings, and they have been good and valid. That there's never been something I learned that I feel like I was led astray, and then when I got into the real world was just opposite or totally invalid.
Yeah, I definitely feel like my school was great. They taught us pretty much the fundamentals, you know, what to do and what not to do for logos, how to lay out a magazine page or just book in general, all the rules that come with that. And then they taught us a lot about like the kind of like very prolific people in design and kind of what they do. And
Mm,
it's such a broad spectrum because it's art, you know, you can do anything. There's different forms of design. It's just so
yeah,
amazing.
that there's interior design of that, how to lay out a room with furniture, and that in and of itself is its own art. There are different agencies and companies that are paid a lot of money to do that for hotels, convention centers, entertainment venues, what have you. And once again, these are areas that the average person doesn't necessarily think about, but they have these touch points with in their everyday lives.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's very cool to learn about.
Oh, Ellie and Booster! Welcome in, Raiders! Hi, Ellie. Hi, Booster. Ellie and Booster are a fantastic married couple. VTubers. Ellie is a necromancer, and Booster is her ghost husband, who she resurrected. They do a lot of very fun streams. They're with a group called Isekai Inc. Their specialty has become doing really bad offbeat games, but then also sometimes doing these incredibly deep and complex projects. Booster has headed up 2 what he calls V caliber tournaments. Booster's a god with the Soul Calibur 4 character creator, and he will create 16 different characters for the VTubers that are in this story, and he will write up scenarios and create a storyline for any possible iteration. Because he doesn't script it, he lets it be a computer versus computer fight. And then, depending on which path the AI winds up going with, he has dialogue prepared for every potential outcome. The other big one they did recently was a Ace Attorney trial with VTubers, which was just a huge improv spectacular that went for like 5 hours. So definitely check out Ellie and Booster. They are fantastic. But welcome in, Raiders. We were talking with Eros. We were talking about design. Eros is very talented, and you can actually commission her to do logo design. Her commission form is available on her Twitter bio, so do check that out. We looked at some of her past pieces, including Bun, and she also has done the logo for Zentrea, which was a really cool story, so definitely check that out for the VOD. But we were now talking about broader design and the impacts that you see of it in everyday life, and education for design. Yeah. Sorry, Eros, sort of interrupted you there with a bit of a monologue. So, let's see, where were we? Yeah, because I had mentioned interior design and how it touches people's everyday lives.
Yeah, we didn't learn too much about interior design. More like like designing posters for a room. But interior design seems so amazing. I just everything about design is so like it captures me. I have so many books just on all sorts of design, ways to further it, you know, typography, everything.
Do you have any favorite fonts? Because as soon as you mention typography, people who are into typography have opinions on fonts.
I use Futura way too much. Way too much.
All right, I'm gonna have to look up Futura now, because I know that the font that I use here is Tahoma Bold. It's a pretty simple one, pretty basic. Like I said, I myself do not have much of a artistic sense. I like to think I know what is at least basically clean, but I've been very straightforward in that VTuber Talk is put together with duct tape and cardboard. These are all free assets, just free skyline background. The blue bars at the top and bottom were a template thing that I got from a different site. The frame that you are in and that chat is in is from a different site. There's not a lot of consistency here. It's a bit of a mess, but it's just... I like to think it's just clean enough to not be distracting, and if I clear that bar, then I guess I've done all right.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a very good setup, very clean.
Okay, so looking at Futura font, it's definitely the way it's described by Google is a geometric sans serif typeface designed by Paul Renner and released in 1927.
Yeah.
What about that font really appeals to you? Is it that it is particularly clean? Is there something in some of the specific letters? Because that's some of the interesting things. Like, how does a font do its Q's, its I's, its J's, or not its I's, because I's are usually pretty simple, but like, how does it do its A's? What do you like about that font?
Something about Future is just incredibly aesthetic to me. It's very clean. It has very sharp angles. When you're in design school, I would get quizzes on like they pull up a font and they're like,
to
okay,
identify
what is this
fonts
font?
on site.
Yep. So Futura, Helvetica, Arial, they're all semi-similar, very different when you look at specifics, like you were talking about, like the A's and such. And I don't know, Futura has always just stuck with me so well. It's a very perfect balance of round and sharp. So I would always use it for everything in college. That wasn't supposed to be like decorative, just writing out like my name and such on projects. I'd always go to Futura.
Yeah, the more I look at it, it is a tall font that, looking at the L in particular, that the upright portion of the L is significantly longer than the flat portion. The J is very tall before it gets to the curve, whereas something like I have here, which I mentioned was Tahoma, I only remember the font because I was updating some of the things earlier today, is a bit more squat, I suppose, that the height of the A is closer to the height of the L in this font than it is in Futura.
Yeah. There's a lot in typography, you're talking mainly about like the X height, which there's a lot that goes into typography. So the X height is very, like on the lowercase alphabet for it specifically, is just
Is that sort
beautiful.
of an industry standard of where is the X in this type font?
Yeah, it should all match up, or else you're gonna have a jank ass font.
Mm-hmm. Ask Eros about NFTs. Fine, sure. I know that there's a lot of opinions about NFTs. If it's not something you want to talk about, that is also fine.
I just keep saying on stream that I'm gonna draw anime titties as NFTs, but not make them NFTs and then scam people. That's all. Because I'm gonna scam people who get NFTs with anime titties.
If there's anything that sells, it's anime titties. Doesn't matter if it's a scam or not.
Exactly. They'll never know. And so I'm already long gone.
But you can't do that until you're ready to be long gone, but definitely hope to see you around for a good long time to come. That you mentioned you started July of last year, so you are now past the 1 year mark, and I think it's pretty safe to say that you're doing pretty darn well for yourself.
Yeah, I'm very, very satisfied with where I am right now. I honestly feel like I don't want to grow bigger because I love getting to interact with people, and I'm like scared of one day getting so big that chat doesn't, slow down at all, and I'm like, I can't talk to people. But I feel very, very fortunate, very lucky to be, where I am right now.
Yeah. So we've now been at this for a bit over 2.5 hours. The runtime is technically over 3 hours, but I'm going to shave off the time we were on the starting soon screen doing the technical difficulties. But we've been at this for a while, and it's felt like it's gone really fast. It's been just a bunch of fun, Eros. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, this has been so great. It's been awesome.
Before we end, I have a couple questions that I ask all my guests. One of them has been adjusted now that we're getting toward the end of the year. I usually have asked what is something you want to accomplish before the end of 2021, but since there's only 11 days now left in the year, which is a weird thing to say, what is your proudest accomplishment of 2021?
I honestly think hitting Twitch partner. I worked at it so hard, which, some VTubers do partner pushes, and I attempted it, and it didn't really go that well. And then right after, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna push it. It'll happen when it happens. Then I hit partner, and I actually found out while I started a stream.
It's always the best when someone gets the email
Yep.
on stream. I think it was, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shirahiko. She found out while she was on stream. Someone from Twitch staff popped up in stream and said something along the lines of, get any nice emails today? And she sort of paused because Shirahiko had applied multiple times and been declined, so she got to have that moment on stream. You said it was just as it was starting. Did you see the email while you were on the starting soon screen, or were you already in the stream when you got the notification?
I was on the starting soon screen, and I was like, just, getting ready, and I was like, I guess I'll check my emails, and I saw it in there, and I immediately went to the just chatting screen. I was like freaking the fuck out, and I was like, oh my god, you guys, oh my god. And they were like, what is it? And then I was like, look, and I pulled it up, and I started crying like so
It's a big
much.
moment. It's a big thing. It's frustrating that it is such a nebulous approval process, and that, it's not as simple as hitting those 75 concurrent viewers, but it's a big threshold. And I'll certainly say that, like I mentioned prior to, this last month or so, I've been asking people what is their goal before the end of the year, and more often than not, if the person is not already partnered, one of their biggest goals is to hit partner, and it's a big deal. That purple check mark, for better or worse, it carries a lot of weight, but it's more than just validation. It's validation, but it's also, the benefits that you, first off, get more money as partner, but it is a thing of pride, and it's something that you definitely earned.
It's so funny. Once you hit partner, any even semi-popular VTubers, even if you don't know them and you're like, hey there, they see your purple check mark and they're like, oh hi Eros. I'm like, we don't know each other, but you're cool. You just get your messages read like instantly. I think it's so funny.
It definitely stands out in chat that when you have that check mark there, people take note.
Exactly.
But with that accomplishment, what is your biggest goal for 2022?
I think I'm just shooting for like 10k followers on Twitch. That's it.
And where are you now with that?
I don't really have any big ideas.
What's your current follower count on Twitch?
I think it's 7.3 thousand, I think. So it's definitely attainable. And I go up probably 40 to 50 followers every stream. So we'll get there eventually.
Well, for anyone who isn't already following Eros, just did a shout out in the chat right there. Go ahead and add to that number, please, and thank you. And
thank you.
But if you're past the 7K mark already, I think that 3,000 more in a year is a very reasonable goal, shall we say?
Absolutely, yeah. I think so.
And the last question is one that I ask all my guests, and it is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but to you, Eros, what does it mean to be a VTuber? And that can be, I've gotten so many different answers. Some people take it very clinically and say, it is a tool in my arsenal as an entertainer. It is a mask that I wear as a content creator. Others say, it lets me get in touch with my inner child, or it lets me be someone that I can't be in real life. And those are two pretty far extremes of the spectrum, and then there's any number of answers in the middle. For you, Eros, so what does it mean to be a VTuber?
I'm gonna be real with you. It means I don't have to wear pants during stream.
That's valid.
That is the whole reason I got into it. I was like, streaming sounds fun. I don't want to shower and brush my hair and stuff. It has been such a cool journey, though. Such a cool little thing. I was shown VTubing by a friend who used to be a VTuber. She graduated a long time ago, though. Um, so I just was like, "Hey, this looks cool, man. Let's do this. Sure, 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 sure." Because I don't typically like keep my identity secret. You know, there's pictures of my face floating out there. I just think it's cool. That's really it. I just think it's neat.
Kin Ninogami and ad by Raid Shadowlands. Ugh. Thank you for the follows. Also, great username. God, by Raid Shadow Legends. Ugh. Oh goodness. Yeah. One of the reasons I asked the question, "What does it mean to be a VTuber?" is because one, like I said, the answer can be basically anything, and at the same time, I feel like it's a really good snapshot of someone because every time I ask it, I don't know how someone's going to answer. But once they answer,
Yeah.
I can very easily say that makes perfect sense. That, even that I've watched your streams for a while. We've talked now for, 2.5 hours. I can't say that we're really close friends or anything, but from everything that I know about you, from the streams that I've seen, from our conversation tonight, that answer makes perfect sense. It feels very you. It feels very Eros. Just that the way you approach your streams, your community, your content creation is very laid back. It's very fun. It's very genuine. That it doesn't feel like you're trying to put on a show. It feels like you're just trying to have a good time. And the term gremlin is thrown around a lot, and I wouldn't say that that's inaccurate. Just, being able to be crazy and, take jabs at chat while they take jabs at you in good fun, and being able to have that sort of, playfully antagonistic relationship that is not unheard of, but it takes a very curated community to hit that balance, and I think you've hit it.
Yeah, I honestly am just here to have fun, I like to laugh. I think I laugh like the most in a day during my streams. And I like to make other people laugh. I consider myself a bit of a jokester, a bit of a prankster. I just want to have fun, and also playing video games is something I was gonna do anyways. Before streaming, I always play video games, so why not hang out with other people as well?
Why not do it with the crowd? Why not do it with friends? Why not do it while being able to chat? That you mentioned that for you, being able to interact with chat is a very big thing, and that's very much a sign of an extrovert. And being an extrovert has been tough these past 2 years, and I think that's one of the great things about not just VTubing but streaming as a whole, that it allows for that interaction and that fun, and that's part of why Vtuber Talk exists, because I like talking to people. Surprise, surprise. And that's what this show has been for me, of being able to just reach out and connect with people that I already think are capable of carrying an extended conversation, being able to learn more about them, and being able to, help those who already know them hopefully learn a bit more, and hopefully introduce them to those that don't know them. And it's been a lot of fun, and I feel like we have a similar approach to our content in that sense.
Absolutely. 100%.
So before we go, one, do you have any raid targets that you would like me to send everyone to?
I don't think so. You got anybody cool you wanna introduce
I don't
me
even
to?
have Twitch open at the moment. Sorry, chat. There might be some quirkiness with how Eros's display goes at the moment, since I'm having to go to Twitch Online and actually see who's online. So 1 second. I hope this isn't too crazy. Let's see here. Who should we go to? Who has similar energy? I'm gonna send you a couple of names in Discord, and I'm going to let you choose from them.
Got it. I'm ready.
So while I'm typing that all up and sending it, are there any announcements that you'd like to make, things you'd like to plug, or next week's schedule that you'd like to hype up before we go?
I think I don't have any plans. I'm just playing Cuphead tomorrow. That's all I know. I'm very, very freeform with my schedule. I take things on a day-by-day basis. So I'm playing Cuphead tomorrow. That's all I know.
Yeah, I actually felt kind of bad that I interrupted Cuphead tonight because you were really in the groove. I could tell you were just having a blast with it.
It's okay. I'll have a blast with it tomorrow too. I was very much looking forward to this. Let's do Kadu. I don't think I've ever rated him before.
I don't think I have either. So this should be fun. Well, awesome. Chat, thank you so much. Gentle Corgis N7 Combo, thank you for the follow. And once again, thank you to everyone else who followed. Thank you, Ellie and Booster, for the raid. If you haven't already, please be sure to follow Eros. Her links are right there at the bottom of the screen. This show is going to be up on my YouTube channel, which many of you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I think I've had more people subscribe during the stream than any other. So thank you for that. This will be up there after about a week or so. If you missed anything, obviously the VOD will be available immediately here on Twitch, but if you want to go back after the fact, I do have everything up on YouTube as an archive. But Eros, I cannot thank you enough for being here tonight. This has been a total blast. I just hope that I was able to provide you with as good a time as you've provided for me. Thank you again to chat. I do these shows once a week. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a show next week because holidays and availability, but we're going to figure that out. And if not, like I mentioned, on January 15th and 16th is when I'm going to be having my charity marathon for my first anniversary. So if you feel so inclined, you can follow me here on Twitch or on Twitter, Vtuber Talk, both places. And once again, thank you all so much. I'm going to get us to the ending screen and we'll be raiding into Kadu. Thank you all again and have a great evening.